It's here. Peloton's best offer of the season. Get up to $300 off accessories when you purchase a Peloton tread. Choose from accessories like a heart rate monitor, non-slip grip dumbbells, yoga blocks, and more. If you've been looking for a sign to join Peloton, this offer gives you everything you need to get going. Hurry, Peloton's best offer of the season is here, but not for long. Visit onepeloton.com to learn more. All access membership separate. Limited time offer cannot be combined with other offers. See additional terms at onepeloton.com.
Shop Macy's Black Friday specials and find epic deals on gifts they'll love now while supplies last. Like 40% off head-to-toe Levi's for men, women, and kids. 70% off gold earrings, bracelets, and bangles. And the Ninja Professional Blender, just $79.95. Plus, get free curbside pickup or pickup in store today at Macy's. Details at macys.com/pickup. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is Scorpio Sky, and you are listening to the Keepin It Strong Style podcast, and it is the best.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Happy Thanksgiving and welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ASA podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review Historic Crossover with Rich Latta and James Boyd and cover all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPWxT, the only browser extension for NJPWworld.com. with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and share playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit NJPWxT.us today for details. Young boy, Thanksgiving week, man. You ready for the day?
Yeah, I'm ready for Thanksgiving, and I'm ready for right now where I'm going to pour one out for the working man. You know what I'm saying?
Take a shot, take a sip for the working man.
Yeah, because we got these things called gimmicks called bills, and they don't stop sending them. So, you know, I haven't listened. Does he even still do a podcast, Stone Cold?
Honestly, I don't even know.
You know, that like literally was aside from like One Nation Radio, I didn't really listen to too many other like professional wrestling podcasts. I used to always listen to Stone Cold, but it seemed like he after a while he just kind of ran out of like old guests to like talk to, you know?
Yeah, I think like at one point it's a bunch of like best of Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I used to love his show, man.
Dude, so did I. Every I think it was like twice a week. It was like Tuesday and Thursday. I listened to all like Stone Cold and like JR, like the first two I listened to. And yeah, Stone Cold was like hilarious, funny. Yeah, they had to guess.
I listened to JR. It was you know, it's not that great, honestly.
at the beginning it was, but then like kind of the same thing. Like kind of got phased out, and then I think he like, switched over to like the Conrad verse, and yeah.
I like Jericho's podcast. I know you kind of got him on mute, but you know why I like Jericho's? Because he has these crazy conspiracy theorists come on. that talk about.
I was in the Jerichos.
Oh, you told me that you muted it a while back.
No, I've never muted Jericho. I always listen to his.
I thought you like took him out of the rotation for a while.
No, Jericho's has always been on.
I could have sworn. I don't know. But I don't listen to all of his, but I like when he has like, all right, who are these guys? Like Jericho clearly doesn't know who they are.
Yeah.
And they're from some fringe website that nobody's ever heard of. And they're like, I'm gonna tell you why the devil and the lizard people are running America's government. He's like, yeah, tell us about it.
But first, we need to talk to HelloFresh.
Yeah. So that's my jam. I love that stuff. But you're not here to listen to that. You're here to listen to us talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling X-Stardom. As you are probably aware, we will be having Rich Latta and James Boyd on the show with us today. I think that's a Keepin' It Strong style first. We've never done a show with all four of us on an episode of Keepin' It Strong style, but we're going to cut to that here in just a moment, where we will dual record the section of the show that we do together, and then we will close out the rest of this episode with the dynamic duo.
That's right. So a fun episode. Yeah, first time in Keepin' It Strong style. Yeah, all four of us, the four pillars of social suplex coming together.
Yeah, some might say we're like the EVPs. Speaking of business, actually, since we're on the subject, and this is probably a good segue. Believe it or not, I had to disclose my business dealings with Social Suplex and Keepin' It Strong style to FINRA, because I am pursuing my financial, licensing. Mm-hmm. And if you have any sort of outside venture or endeavor, no matter what it is, if you get any sort of monetary gain from a reoccurring, gig, a job, then, and not that this is like a job, it's kind of ridiculous, but like you have to tell them about it. If hypothetically you didn't disclose your outside business dealings, that is, and they discover whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be financially based. It can be like, you can literally be a valet, parking cars on the weekend. And if you don't tell them that and they find out, you could lose your license, So it's not even like that you have to get approval, but you have to disclose it so they're aware of it.
Right. Yes.
And
can't work.
Oh, go ahead.
Can't work.
Yeah. You can't work them at all. Like you got to peel back the, the curtain and let them know what's going on. So I had to do a question and answer for my U4 form today. And they were like, what is this business? Describe in brief detail the nature of what it is you do.
A 3-hour podcast where we cover pure rezu.
I was like, it is a Japanese professional wrestling podcast. It in no way conflicts with and has nothing to do with any I give no financial advice on any.
Oh man, dude, it's always funny, like trying to explain what we do to like non-wrestling fans, whether it's like for business stuff or just like random people in our lives.
That's on you, bro. I'd never tell anybody about this podcast.
Well, I'm trying to get the downloads increased. I don't care if they're fans or not. I'm trying to get these downloads.
Oh man, yeah. That's funny. Yeah, but I had to tell them, basically what we do and everything like that. And yeah, so the good folks over at FINRA and the SEC are now aware of Keepin' It Strong Style and the Social Suplex Podcast Network. They were like, physical location of the business. And I was like, there is no physical location per se.
In the cloud.
I should have just sent them your home address.
No, the location is the hearts of souls of the wrestling fans.
But why that's a good segue, here in a little bit, obviously you guys are probably aware World Tag League is going on, as well as Super Junior Tag League. And this is usually the time of the year where me and Jeremy kill ourselves to provide you the highest level of coverage when it comes to the World Tag League. For what is this going to be our 6th year running covering Tag League?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I got to tell you guys, number one, I am literally about to test for one of my licenses. I'm sure if you're a longtime listener, you recall when I did this back in June for one of my other licenses. This is an even bigger and harder test, and that is coming up literally smack dab right in the middle of World Tag League. So suffice to say, most of my attention is going to be focused on studying as opposed to the exploits of Catch 22 and Aussie Open, as much as I would like for it to be. We're still going to cover it here on the show. I will be gone next week. I'm going to be out of town on vacation from Thursday to Tuesday, which is literally in the middle of a 7 back-to-back night, extravaganza of World Tag League. And the reality is, even if I came back to do the show with Jeremy, we push it back a day. There's no way between family time and travel and study that I'm going to be able to actually watch and devote all the time to these shows. Now, we will still be covering it, and I still will be discussing it with Jeremy, but the reality is no one else in the space is going to be giving the same kind of time and attention to these shows that me and Jeremy normally do. So it's not feasible for us to bring in guests. And, after 6 years of like going hard for this shit, I can't remember one time where someone like really cared.
I really loved your Night 9 World Tag League coverage. War Machine, Killer Elite Squad. You had that breakdown. Archer put the claw on.
The show's been going really good, but that week, that stretch of week 3 of World Tag League where you guys were talking about the best friends versus, GOD, that was a high point for your coverage. Like, no one's ever said that stuff to us. So chances are, just being a little transparent, I'll try to watch the shows, and obviously we're probably only going to watch the like tournament matches, but I might be hitting fast forward. I might be reading a 411 Mania review if they're even doing them. I might be reading some cage match. I'm going to do the best I can, but I think after 6 years of like total dedication to New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think we deserve to have the smallest of breaks when it comes to coverage, especially since, I don't know, man, I got the feeling that at the end of this tournament, they're just going to shoehorn like the Young Bucks into one of these finals anyway.
What's wrong with that?
Well, there's a lot wrong with it, but it's like we spend all this time watching this shit and, devoting all this coverage and giving people the breakdown of what, the standings after, plus they're not making it easy on us anyways. They literally got all 17 shows packed in a 3-week period. It's like 7 shows one week, 6 shows the next week, and then 5 shows the next. It's crazy.
It's a pretty daunting schedule when you look at it, but yeah.
This is the most daunting schedule I think they've ever had for any tournament since we've ever covered New Japan. It's almost like they don't want us to cover it.
They're trying to test us. The real test.
With that being said, me and Jeremy, we're going to do our best, but most of my attention, honestly, is going to be, and this is understandably so. I mean, you guys can have it one of two ways. I could just not be on the show, just go into the world of finance and live a life of luxury and plush, or I could slum it with you dopes here on this show, talking about Shinihama. It's up to you.
Why not both?
I mean, honestly, if in a perfect world, we would get a sponsorship that would pay us, an exorbitant amount of money to provide the top tier.
So as soon as you said top tier, you froze.
Top tier level of coverage for New Japan Pro Wrestling. See, someone's trying to, basically make me botch right then and there. They're trying to sabotage me. It's a conspiracy. So that's what's going on.
Yeah, so we'll do our best for coverage. I don't know exactly what the game plan is for next week, but there definitely will be a show and there will be coverage going throughout this tournament. Another housekeeping thing, our year-end awards ballot will be coming up soon. If you've been a long-time listener, usually around this time, usually this week, we will drop a bonus episode announcing the nominees and the categories and start getting the ballots out there. But also with Historic Crossover being the last show in the voting period, that kind of bumped us back a schedule on what we would normally do stuff. So we're going to be working on getting the categories and nominees together. The ballot should be going out around December 8th, the bonus episode. And then you guys will have all of December to vote for the awards, and we will announce the winners probably that second episode of January 2023. So be on the lookout for that. If you voted in the past and when you gave your email, you will get an email from us with the link to this year's ballot. And also look out for it on social media. Share it with all your wrestling groups, wrestling friends, and help us get those votes out when that ballot is live.
Yeah, if you're a longtime listener, you know exactly what these awards are, and you've probably participated. And if you didn't, you probably kick yourself in the shin every year and say, damn, I wish I would have got my ballot in. Well, this is your chance. And for those of you that are new listeners and are unaware of what it is, we have probably one of the most broad and robust list of categories for year-end awards for New Japan. We know firsthand that the company does pay attention to this type of award thing. It's something that is very much in the the sight lines of management with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So it is a big deal, and it's typically primarily the voices of the Western audience when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I've sent out a tweet earlier this week regarding this. So the grading period is November 14th, 2021 to November 20th, 2022. And so just so it makes sense, we typically start our category when World Tag League starts, and then we end it as the next year's World Tag League is beginning. So, for instance, Historic Crossover, that marks the end of this year for the grading criteria and the grading period. So that did make the cut. We're gonna, me and Jeremy will go through, we'll, categorize all the different categories, and we nominate who we believe is the most deserving to be in those categories. And then we leave it to a public vote. That's you to, participate, share this, get the word out there, help us to grow these awards. It's one of the things we take most seriously for what we do here at Keepin It Strong Style. And then we do awesome audio. And I believe we haven't locked it down, but I believe we're going to have another special guest this year to help us do the rundown of the nominees and kind of get the word out there. So look forward to that, and look out for when we finally make that public and you guys get a chance to let your voices be heard.
Yeah. So now we're going to throw it over to our segment with Rich and James to cover Historic Crossover. All right, welcome to this special Keeping It Strong Style One Nation Radio simulcast of a review of Historic Crossover. You're either listening to this live right now on Twitch or on the Keeping It Strong Style feed or the One Nation Radio feed or the Social Suplex Podcast Network feed. There's
one of them.
Several places. You can't miss it.
You're going to get this work, a smart man once said.
Go ahead and subscribe on all of them, download on all of them, give to all of them, show support for your boys. But yeah, we're going to talk about Historic Crossover, the big New Japan and Stardom pay-per-view that happened this weekend. Of course, here with young boy Josh Smith, Rich Latta, as Joe Lanza likes to say, and James Boyd.
What is going on, folks? It has been a long time since I've joined Keeping It Strong Style. I'm very happy to be back. We're talking about, of course, we've been kind of on this Stardom coverage since 2019. I feel like we kind of, have earned our stripes a little bit on that side, at least, to come represent, Rossi's gang here. And, James, what's going on, man?
Not too much. We had a whole gag set up. I think the first time I came on for Keeping It Strong Style was when the news first broke or whatever. And I made some joke about when I come back when I have theme music. Because I was I'm pretty sure I have an idea of what's going to happen here. And it pretty much came to fruition. Obviously... it wasn't as competitive of a card. Like once you put Muto and Yano on it, like third from the top, you already know like they're not really all that serious. But like I had Rich.
James, you might be muted by.
I am not muted.
I'm hearing him.
Okay.
I hear him.
I guess the stream is like y'all can't hear James. That is strange. Go ahead, continue, James.
All right. Well, so like I had an idea this was going to happen. I figured they were going to have a great show and there was going to be a lot of Stardom doing the greatness. And I was like, okay, so I figured, like as a joke, we were going to come back, like we did the review. Like I was going to like do a, almost like a victory lap type of thing, and like Rich is going to like almost like be like a hype man and throw to interest music, like not interest music. I'm not a wrestler, but like theme music, whatever else. So for a minute, I was like, all right, I don't know what this music will be. Is it going to be something original? What is it going to be? And I was like, well, it has to be something original because otherwise it'll be copyright claim. So I ended up. Every so often go on this website, long story short, or YouTube page. Basically, like it's a black marching bands for HBCUs, and like I found something I thought was cool. I sent it to Rich and said, like, what can you do? What do you think you could flip out on this? And he made this incredible beat, and like for some reason we can't get the audio to play for y'all. Like we'll throw it in post for y'all or whatever else. But like the whole joke was that like we're just gonna talk. Me and Rich are gonna talk mad shit for like a minute and a half. Like while this music was while these fucking trumpets and tubas and trombones were gonna blur out. But it didn't happen, unfortunately.
It sounds like you had nefarious intentions, but
nefarious intention.
Yeah, you were trying to dunk on Shinihan. And God stepped in the way and prevented you from taking your victory lap. That's what happened.
I didn't do so much the dunking as much as Mayu Iwatani did the dunking, but if you say so. But like, keep in mind, like you go through the times I've been on Keepin' It Strong Style ever since this thing has happened. I've been like, hey man, they're not. Stardom is not the company or the promotion to come out here and like half-ass it. Like they're going to present something that you're going to be like very impressed by, and like will New Japan like just treat it as, oh, this was women's wrestling, whatever else, and get fucking embarrassed. And they went out there with the best pro wrestler in the world in the side-main event, and went out there and had an emotional story of the fucking main event ref's son's getting his brains beat in, and they got floored emotionally. They didn't have a fucking chance. So yeah, like that's where I was coming from. I warned you. You were forewarned. So
well, I guess we might as well play it for the people that are on the stream at least. They can hear what was sent through. So I am pulling it up right now, and let's get it going.
And this is where post I'll add it in or whatever else. I'm sure, Jeremy, you made some editing notes on where to.
Yeah, I got it marked. So yeah,
yeah.
Hey,
it's another podcast feed. They'll be hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a
live stream. You can see Rich cranking to the music.
Yeah.
The horns sound like victory, don't it?
Oh man. Well, let's start talking about this show because it's a little bit late here.
It's super late.
I think we're gonna have very different opinions of what we saw on this show, but I'm glad that I'm back here on Two Nation Radio. That's all I want to say.
The show inside the show.
Yeah.
See, I'm thinking we can go. We don't have to give like super in-depth stuff on some of like the pre-show undercard stuff and kind of breeze through that stuff.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah. So. Starting off, we had two pre-show matches. So first match was the LA Dojo team of the Android Alex Coughlin, while Rhino Clark Connors, Gabriel Kidd, and the Jet Kevin Knight defeating the Noge Dojo team of Kosei Fujita, Oscar Libre, Ray Oiwa, and Yuto Nakashima. 9 minutes and 39 seconds. Pretty much this was the LA Dojo, like picked up where they were left off in 2019, smoking the Noge Dojo, running these boys out the Ariake Arena.
Some might say they smoked on the pack because they killed those boys. They fucked them up so bad. It's got so far.
Shibata Dojo better than the Funky Dojo.
Like I mean, they gave what's Lubeck? That's the last name. How do you pronounce?
I don't know how to pronounce.
Dude, I've heard like 3 or 4 different ways people.
That's why I'm asking.
Nobody knows.
Okay, well, anyway, the very tall, very pale guy, he impressed with the size and speed combination, but ultimately he was overwhelmed by the numbers game from LA Dojo, and they put his ass away with a tandem muscle buster. And then Coughlin got the pin. That was impressive.
Yeah, that was
Coughlin's ripped to shreds, man.
Yeah, that was Coughlin and Gabe Kidd. That's their new tag finisher. They are in the World Tag League, so they were kind of building those guys up for that tournament.
Yeah, man. I just got one thing to say about this. There was Kazuchika Okada, and then there was Kevin Knight.
Yeah, there's a great interview on NJPW1972.com where Shibata talks about just how great Kevin Knight's dropkick is and how much money it's going to be. So, yeah.
There was also Kevin Knight and Yuto Nakashima mirror match, but only the hair specifically.
Correct. I saw that. I was like, man, these two gentlemen with these same hair textures. This is this is quite amusing.
One's naturals, one is very much not so. Need to stop.
We had some quick questions here. Ocock 890 says, do you think the LA Dojo guys will become their own faction, or do you guys think they become more involved in New Japan? They'll join different factions. Also, MJPR says, how did Oscar Lube look in his debut? And Stone Cold Bob Saget says, DKC sucks. That's my question.
Well, first off, I'll start off. DKC does not suck. I think he's got some bad gimmickry, but he does not suck. Lube, very impressed. Like the whole time I was seeing him get his shine, I was just thinking like, there's money in this guy right here. They got to refine him, but I think they got money there. And an LA Dojo faction is death for anybody that's in it, because where are you gonna go?
Like I don't know if they'll ever like really have a top star. So like the boys dead on arrival, as Josh was saying.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them doing some kind of faction. I mean, they kind of teased that. They were teasing that in 2019 when they were doing this whole Noge Dojo, LA Dojo rivalry. And then on New Japan Strong, you had the LA Dojo against United Empire rivalry last year. So it does seem like they're going in that direction. On their nameplates, it still says LA Dojo, even though Connors, Kidd, and Coughlin have all graduated from the dojo. So, yeah, I think that's the direction they're going in. And, yeah, Oscar, I thought he looked great. He started training in the Fale Dojo. But then the pandemic happened. He had to go back to Germany, wrestle for WXW, and now he's back here in the Noge Dojo. So, yeah, I think more training and an excursion, this guy's going to be money.
To me, he looks like he's ahead of Hikuleo, or will be. Like, he looks like he's more instinctual, like, than when I first saw Hikuleo. So, we'll see. How tall exactly is he?
I don't know. He looked at like a good 6'10" almost, probably.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, LA Dojos ain't exactly the tallest in the world. So, like, is he really 6'10" or is he like 6'7"?
I think Coughlin and them are like 6'2". He's tall.
Okay. Coughlin is taller than Connors.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, following that, we had the Stardom Rambo, where Mirai outlasted the crew there to win this Rambo. Really fun matchup here. What did you guys think about this? Was anybody in there that you expected not to be in there, or it was kind of who you were expecting?
It was more or less your standard Stardom roster of people that weren't like highlighted higher on the card. So it's pretty much everybody else's on the main roster is in. And then they did the double thing where they did Saya Ida goes out and she comes back and she's super strong Stardom Machine, which is a carryover joke from No People Gate in 2020 when they had a battle royal. And she came out 3 times. She's like the 3 faces of Ida. So yeah, they run that out every about once a year doing Rambos. Like they probably do like 2 Rambos a year. So this is their time to do it. But yeah, Mirai, she came out first. I thought when I first looked at who was, didn't get put on the main card and I saw Rambo, like who was most likely or who I thought most likely would win, I thought it would be her. She came out first, which is a good sign, and she ended up getting the win. She ended up going down the closing stretch with the final two with her and Ida dressed as Super Strong Stardom Machine, and they clobbered each other, and then ultimately Mariah got the win with the Miramari Shock, and I think it's right winner. As far as Stardom Rambos go, it was the best one they've done. Like, they've had some really wacky ones. They had one in Budokan Hall that was terrible. So, you know how I am when it comes to Stardom. Like, just don't embarrass me. So they didn't embarrass me. They had the standard, normal Rambo, and they got on with it.
From like a novice / rookie fan's perspective, I thought that this was a pretty good Rambo. I thought that it was better in many respects than most of New Japan's Rambos that we've seen. And even though it was a little bit difficult to follow, because there's so many new characters kind of being presented all at one time, I mean, I kind of got the gist of what they were going for and kind of the background of the characters. I thought it was a good way to get the girls on the show and kind of familiarize, some of the other audience with who they were and kind of showcase them just a little bit. And, it was fun. It wasn't like a great match or anything, but it was fun, and it told a kind of cool story, and, it definitely didn't overstay its welcome.
A couple of kind of visual things to look at on there, like when you saw Hannon in there with her two sisters, like they're gonna be running this thing in a couple years, and it's gonna be like the two sisters around Hannon. It's gonna be pretty funny.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Saki Kashima, a woman who has made peace with her lot in life with 4 eliminations here. Always love when Saki Kashima comes out here and shocks the world. And then, Hazuki was in there. So I was pleasantly surprised when I saw Hazuki. So
I also learned who Waka was through this match.
Okay.
Waka.
So you finally saw the King of New York.
Finally know who Waka is.
Yeah. So, Waka is, for lack of a better word, she is Cosmic Angel's mascot.
Yeah.
She has yet to win a match in Stardom. She's been around for about probably over a year now at this point. And they put her in trios matches or faction matches, and she's obviously the person's going to eat the pin. She hasn't won yet, but you can get great near falls and crowd reacts out of her having big kickouts, out of big moves and stuff, and keep the match going. And you want to see her get the win, get her first win, but then you're also like, well, what happens when she gets it? Or is the crowd going to react to her? You wonder how that's going to go. She's adorable and all that kind of stuff, and she has pluck. But yeah,
it worked for Cheeseburger and it worked for Hama.
You know what? You're right. I didn't even think about it from that perspective, but you're right. You're right. So yeah, maybe I think it's going to happen this year, but I just wonder, what right time and place whenever that happens. Yeah, they brought Oedo Tai in, they brought stars in, and then when Saki came out, and there was a bunch of people that hadn't been eliminated. I was like, oh, she's gonna clear this bitch out. And sure enough, flash crucifix pin, and flash crucifix pin, and flash crucifix pin, and it was effective in what they were going for, as you mentioned. But I'm kind of a person that's I don't like Rambos and Rumbles in battle royals to begin with, so it's I'm hard to please when it comes to that perspective.
Yeah, overall, really fun match, and I thought Chris Charlton and Kevin Kelly did a great job of introducing the people and kind of who was who and what was going on. But yeah, really enjoyed that to kick off the show. So then, first match on the main card, we had the Chaos team of Ishii, Yo, Yoshihashi, and Leo Rush defeating the House of Torture team of Dick Togo, Evil, Sho, and Yujiro Takahashi. 7-minute match. Fine opener here. The big thing is you have some World Tag League and Super Junior Tag League implications here, as Yo and Leo Rush, they're in the Junior Tag League. Yoshihashi's in the World Tag League. His partner is Goto. Sho and Dick Togo are in the Junior Tag League. Evil and Yujiro in the World Tag League. So just kind of some preview matches here. Overall, it was fine. Leo Rush's debut in Japan. Nothing really to write home about this match.
I like this match. I gave it 3 flat stars, but I really like at the beginning when Ishii's in, and he's almost like the protagonist in an action movie, and he's foiling all these henchmen, and like he's sidestepping, or it's almost like someone throws a big boot, he sidesteps it or catches the boot and throws it to the dude behind him because he has eyes in the back of his head. Like it was a bunch of that for like 40 seconds of Ishii just being like the equalizer, like he's fucking Denzel Washington all of a sudden. And it was fun. And then I also like the I guess the 3K coming back as a finish for Yo and Leo. And like it's just they I don't know what they got in common. Like I know that
they do music together.
I know they said they have similar interests, and the only thing I think of was like Yo in that art display that he liked the poop sculptures. So it's like, bro, that dude's weird, but like whatever, like it is what it is. But like I did like that they brought the 3K back.
They're both artists. They just work in different mediums. Okay.
Shit is not a medium, Josh.
Tell that to Evil.
Yeah, I thought Leo looked good. First time in Japan, you always want to like make an impression. He was moving around the ring well, and I gotta imagine Leo Rush is looking at it like, hey, this is my last shot to try to stick somewhere, because it's real hard when you run through Vince, Triple H, and TK. So.
And MLW, and GCW, and Ring of Honor. Like, there's nowhere else to go, at all.
Look, I think y'all are being too hard on him. We're after all talking about Leo Rush, a person that made history on Sunday in the morning. He has to be the first black man to win a match in Stardom. Has to be. So cut him some slack. He is breaking barriers. Okay, he's breaking barriers.
I will say, he had a great match in the main event today in Cork and Hall. Him and Yo against Catch 2-2, Akira and TJP. Really fun main event. Thought Leo Rush looked great in there. Him and Akira, their speed together was awesome. So yeah, Leo Rush is looking good. I think he's going to be a great addition to this junior division.
That was a free show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's free. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Leo Rush is not coming to Japan to work junior tag league unless he's winding up in the finals in some capacity. So. This was kind of a showcase match for them as an emerging tag team amongst the other things you guys mentioned. I thought it was fun. The nice thing here, very little House of Torture-ism. There wasn't a lot of those types of shenanigans. Most of that stuff got foiled. They didn't have a lot of time to pop that shit off, so it was kind of nice there.
Leo got choked by the garrote wire.
Very little.
That's
very
minimum.
Little.
That's minimum.
It was minimal.
Minimum.
This was very. Yeah, that's a baseline you expect.
Everyone gets choked by the wire.
The lights didn't get turned out. There was no ref bump.
No ref pulls.
Yeah. There was a lot more that could have gone wrong.
I mean, they took a turnbuckle pad off.
Just one. They didn't take all four of them off.
Yeah. Brewhaven calls Leo Rush the Jackie Robinson of Joshi.
Jackie Robinson.
Joshi Robinson.
So we just no. No, just no. Okay, fine, whatever. We're just erasing black women. Okay, fine. Okay, okay. I don't agree with this. I guess that's what they're doing. They meaning like there's a them and a me. Me is not with them.
Anyways, it was fine.
Moving on to the next matchup, we had a six-woman match here. Queen Quest, Azumi, Lady C, and Saya Kamatani. They defeated the Donna Del Mundo team of Himeka, Mai Sakurai, and Tekla. Also a big story here. Lady C and Mai Sakurai, they're teaming up in the Stardom Tag League right now. It's My Fair Lady, kind of being forced together here. Tekla, I believe she's coming back from injury and looking to kind of make a splash back in Stardom, and was in there. Her and Azumi had some great sequences there. Seemed like potentially setting up a high-speed matchup maybe between those. And also
a rematch.
Rematch. And we had the white belt champion Saya Kamatani in there as well. Awesome. Hitting that 450. I think she called it with the Firebird.
Firebird splash. Yeah. She ironically, she started breaking that out during the Grand Prix. And I thought that was a way to like save her body from doing the Phoenix Splash all the time. And then like in her last before this weekend against Mina Shirakawa on 11-3, she ended up like botching one badly, airballing it, having to go up again, botched it the second one, and the second one her foot ends up like turning to like a phoenix splashing leg drop right on Mina's mouth and like knocked out like 3 of her teeth and like fucked up her jaw. So,
tough business.
You know, they basically like that's kind of like on the no list for now. She's on probation for now with the Phoenix Splash, so she's using the Firebird for now.
Yeah, and Chris Charlie was trying to tell a story of like maybe she's hesitant to do it, kind of like when Billy Kidman messed up the Shooting Star in like 2002, and he was kind of like hesitant to do it because he didn't want to hurt his opponent.
Yeah, that played into the white belt match she had with Kyrie the night before, where she tried it. She actually tried it one time, but Kyrie slipped out the way, so she basically had to do the whole like roll through thing. But yeah, that was a part of the match from that for Saturday morning.
This is really. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
I was just gonna say I don't have as much to probably add to this as you guys do, but I thought that this was a really great match. I thought it was more high speed, more entertaining, obviously, than the first men's 6-man tag. But this was a really great showcase for everybody. I did see the Saya Kamatani title defense from the night before, and from what I've seen of her, RLPW, big fan of Saya, especially with the tassels. The one thing I will say, though, and this is the only like interesting point I have, every single review, every person I saw that was giving a preview of this match was telling me that Lady C was eating the pinfall, and it was not so. So, you know, do you guys believe in miracles? Because she did not take the L.
I can see. I don't know who I predicted to win. I think I probably predicted Lady C would take the L too, because she eats a lot of L's too. But Mai as a loser makes a bunch of sense because like Mai's not as good as Lady C is, but she's pushed at a slightly higher level. So you know, either one of those two were going to be the 2 pin eaters in this situation. And in this situation, once you saw Mai out there with Kamatani and it went more than like 2 seconds, you were like, oh, she's stuck in there, she's isolated, she's about to get pinned.
I was glad to see Azumi on here. You know, she would have rather been teaming with Will. She gave a interview saying, you know, she wanted to team with somebody but wouldn't reveal who it was. We all kind of knew who she was talking about. And this is kind of when the pageantry of this show started hitting me. When Queen's Quest came out, like I felt proud when Queen's Quest came out. I was like, I think I'm rolling with Queen's Quest here. So
they've always been my favorite faction. Yeah. Ever since I started watching Stardom, because it's you know, it's like the leftover like legacy of Io Shirai was like she took like Momo Watanabe, Hazuki, and Azumi, and like more or less like that was like her dojo, right? And then like Io left and like Momo took over, and then like Hazuki by that point in time from faction warfare got like taken away, but like that was always like we're putting our young like prodigious talents, you know, there that it came out of our dojo. That's kind of what they've always done with Queen's Quest. So like that's when you get, you know, Kamatani, Azumi, Utami, Momo, like that's always been like the thing. So like I've always, you know, dug their style. Like they always work like a basically straightforward, just wrestle their asses off type of click. And like that's been the case for them since, you know, ever since I've watched them. So I've always enjoyed the hell out of them and always liked them the most. And like their tag matches are just top notch. Like they're like Stardom hums like a machine, but like they are like
the machine,
the most efficient machine.
Yeah,
I'm more of a Stars guy myself. Always have been.
Makes sense, I guess. It's just you liking baby faces.
Queen's Quest.
I don't know if they're baby faces. It's just
Stars are baby faces. They're very much like Hontai.
Yeah, they're Hontai of Stardom. But yeah, Queen's Quest, United Empire. I feel like there's a theme there. Azumi and Will teaming up next time would be great. But yeah, really good tag match here, which led to the next tag match, the first mixed tag match of the night, where we had Julia and Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Shuri and a filthy Tom Lawler 10 minutes and 29 seconds. And this was another really fun matchup here. Of course, from the G1, Sabre and Filthy Tom have been feuding over George Michael and what was the other guy?
It was
Boy George, yeah. They're arguing over that. So that's kind of the history of their rivalry. And then, of course, Julia and Shuri, they have a big World of Stardom title match coming up, and big rivalry there. Julia winning the 5-star Grand Prix, and so a lot of the match was them trying to kill each other and throwing strikes. And a preview for that match, there was one point in the match where Philly Tommy's trying to break them up, and then they both start beating him up because they want to
get out of the way.
They want to run it and go
sweet.
at it. Yeah. And Philly Tom, he had the short shorts with the God's Eye glitter logo on the shorts.
On both shorts.
Yeah.
Both the overs and the unders. It was amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Waka seemed to be impressed by that on commentary.
I loved Waka on commentary throughout this whole thing. She would jump in with like one line of like very basic English, and it'd be like, "Oh, that was Waka." Like,
yeah. I will say that Waka added a ton to the main event, but yeah, like it was more or less like Kelly and Charlton doing the job while, just throwing her for a little bit of background for things they may not be too aware of. So yeah, I thought that, for such a awkward situation, they made the best of it.
Well, get ready, because I heard during the post-match comments that Shuri said the one thing she regretted was that she didn't have matching gear to Filthy Tom Lawler. So the next time they tag together, she does plan to wear the jean attire with the glitter and the tassels, and she wants to do the same dance that he does as they enter together. That was what she said during the post-match. So
look, if not for the day before show where she just broke out brand new gear, I fully was expecting her to show up in red denim. I really was. It's documented. You can go through like our or you can actually go to Charlton's Discord. I actually said that, like, I was fully expecting her to come out and like in some like cutoffs, because she's also worn like long jeans before, like things that look like jeans before for gear. So like I was expecting that, in like they have a admiration and respect for each other doing the whole MMA thing. So
hopefully she doesn't wear red skinny jeans.
I'm not going to Chris Charlton's Discord. I exclusively am on Twitter until it dies.
I'm on both. Like I'm waiting for it to die too, but I was like, well, while it's going over here, let me see if I can ask him a question about like what's going to happen with them trying to communicate small details, like besides just on their website for news. So,
but as far as the this mixed tag match goes, I really enjoyed it. I felt like this is part of where the show really shined. I know, people were kind of wondering if there was going to be like this sort of competitive nature between the two brands, and I honestly didn't get very much of that vibe whatsoever. The way, say, like the Noah show was, it wasn't like that. This was more, literally, in some cases, more so a showcase for Stardom, but also very much a collaboration. And it was kind of cool to see. Even like the men in many cases were like kind of treated like the juniors. Like in this case, like they were the pin eaters.
Yeah, I'll go a step further. I think New Japan did everything. Did almost basically anything you could possibly ask any promotion in this kind of situation to do joint shows like this to put another promotion over. Like I think they should be. I think that New Japan Pro Wrestling should be commended for what went on Sunday morning. We've seen how a lot of male wrestlers act in like intergender and stuff and whatever else, and they don't want to sell or whatever else, or they only want to sell for the tiniest bit or whatever else. Right. And like all them dudes was showing ass for the women left and right.
Except
so and like making them and literally trying to show personality and make the women look like the coolest acts out of all these teams. So like, this went as well as you could have expected it to.
MJ does PR says, can James explain why Shuri and Julia double team Tom?
Oh, because he got in the middle of their battle.
Yeah, he's in the way. They're trying to fight
beat each other. They're like, look, I've seen this when they tag together in like quote unquote all-star tag team matches, or when they've had the tag since Shuri left Donovan Amato to start God's Eye. When those two get in the ring together, they're going to, and Julia has this also with Tam Nakano as well. Like they get in the ring, they have their section of the match, and they're going to just bomb throw until they both collapse and then tag out. That's just how it goes with Shuri and Julia. Shuri also has it with Mayu. It's like there's certain people where it's like certain like you call it like certain particular rivals where it's like they get in tag matches and that's going to carry this match too. That's going to be the hot shit in the tag match. So yeah, that happens. It happens with Momo and Hazuki, for example, too. So yeah, like he got in the way, so he had to pay.
They also explained on commentary kind of the history where they were stablemates and had regularly teamed together. And so I think that
They were like when Tom Lawler got in the way and they basically like ran him from one corner to the middle, and they hit like basically meet in the middle drop kicks. That was one of their tags.
That's their shit. Yeah,
that was their shit. Yeah,
I'm pretty convinced that Tom wanted to eat all that and was like, "Here's what we're gonna do." Like, and so that was just so memorable.
He reviews Stardom every other week, like we do. Well, we do it more every week, but you know what I'm saying? Like he knows all this stuff.
That part was so memorable, very, very, very fun, and I thought it was like the standout of the match was just seeing the two of them kick the shit out of him, and then those two be so dead set on killing each other that they got distracted from the match altogether, which pretty much left Tom a sitting duck for Zack Sabre to use the Techers.
Yeah. Zach busted out the European clutch and got the win there.
Yep. And then, like Julia and Sabre are like doing this playful thing where like one's trying to raise the other's arm. And they're like, no, let me raise your arm. No, let me raise your arm. And like, that was also cool. Cause like, Sabre can, when he wants to be, can be a dick. So you don't know how he's going to play it, but he's like, fellow countrywoman. So it's like, gotta, put her over. So that was cool. Like all these interactions were super cool. Like the Tai Chi and Tam stuff was cool too. We'll get to it, but yeah, like it was a lot of just fun things that you just wouldn't expect, or things that you think like that'd be cool. And that would be like a nice meme or whatever else. But like you don't think they're actually going to think of it, and then they do it.
Yeah, yeah. The backstage comments, Zach asked Julia if he can join Don Del Mondo, and said he would put it on his gear, the logo on his gear.
He's working towards trying to become a full-fledged member of DDM.
Yeah,
that's funny. Like Don Del Mondo is Italian for woman of the world.
well, he wants to be one of them.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Next matchup, we had Meltier, which is Natsupoi and Tam Nakano. They teamed up with Taichi and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and they defeated the team of Black Desire, which is Momo Watanabe and Starlight Kid, and Doki and El Desperado.
Well, let me just start off by saying two things. Number one, I didn't even recognize Momo. Like I knew it was going to be her in the match, and then like halfway through the match, I realized it was her, and I was like, "Oh shit, she's blonde and she's carrying a bat. Like this is a totally different person." I didn't recognize.
She's had a quite a free fall and coming on hard times in the last year. It was like she came out. This goes back to the Grand Prix last year. She had this look on her face like, I know I ain't gonna win. And
in the final, she's walking out for the final, and she has that face.
Yes.
That face. Yeah.
Yes,
that's funny.
She had to wrestle Shuri. Shuri basically outlasts her, beats her, and banishes her to hell. She's got all these people in Queen's Quest like kind of rising and surpassing her, and then she starts like looking around and decides like, it's like when people start turning to drugs and The Wire. Like that's kind of like what Momo's like Watanabe like kind of did when she joined Oedo Tai. It was just like, I'm just going to start doing heroin now. So like, I have nothing left to live for. So I'm just going to be a evil deviant. And this is what she did for like a year.
Yeah. Well, she's still mostly awesome.
Yeah, but she's awesome.
Oh, everyone was great in this match. The other thing I was going to say is, like, I didn't know of Meltier. I knew the names, but I'd never seen them.
Man,
and
that doesn't sound like Meltzer. Like,
did I say that wrong?
No, it's Meltier, and like Meltier. It sounds like Meltzer. That's why I don't like the name.
Oh, I see. Okay. And I knew that they were like idols or whatever, but I hadn't seen the visual of like what the idea of like them coming out mixed with Tai Chi, and I'm like, okay, this makes perfect sense why these were all paired together, and it was just hilarious. And then like when Tai Chi's going to like pull off his like trunks, and then like one of the girls like she's trying to rip, but she doesn't have it. Like,
she can't pull her tutu off. Yeah.
This match was so funny, bro.
So the thing that's crazy about like the Meltier and Tai Chi thing is that like after when the pandemic first happened and both promotions were on hiatus, they started doing like cross-promotional stuff with certain wrestlers here and there in certain mismatch type of situations. Well, they did a live stream for Bushiroad for some reason where they put Tai Chi and Tam Nakano together, right? And like it made no sense at the time. Like, you're putting like the babiest of baby faces you can find in like the top 99% of baby face percentile in the world with the, you know, Black Mephisto, right? So but like they have like this weird charm or whatever else with each other, where like Taichi says lewd things to this like pretty woman that's like older than she appears to be, and like that, like that's just their chemistry. And then you know, in the last like few months, like Natsupoi joined Cosmic Angels, became Tam's tag team partner, became tag team champions. So like they made their own, because they're both idols, they singers. Like Tam's actual solo theme music is her singing. It's actually a song about, the lyrics are actually about Mayu Batani, but lo and behold, but whatever. But they end up like singing their entrance music down to the ring, and like lo and behold, like who else sings their entrance music down to the ring? Well, you know, lip sync. So like it all ends up matching up, and it was like
he sings for real. That's not lip syncing.
Yeah. Okay. but yeah, you know, and then they have the Tai Chi mask thing on when they're coming down, and like they had already got Ken Murray to come out first. Like they're like, yeah, you take your ass out here, and it's actually about like Natsupoi and Tam and Tai Chi, and they're doing the slip syncing thing, and they're like it was really fun. But like the match was also great because like Momo, as you mentioned, like just kind of like a hoodlum along with Starlight Kid, like both of them in the last year basically have turned into these characters, and like they're just terrorists. And like anytime is Melter and Black Desire, like Melter comes out, they want to sing their song, and like Black Desire just will not have it. We will not have it, and like they would cut them off.
They tried to, yeah.
Yeah, it happens every time, and it's just fun and to see how like all the interaction you see. You're trying to see how like the Despy side and the Taichi side handle it or whatever else, and that was interesting. And then to see like I think that was like the first like man on woman type of thing when you had Desperado like grab like Poi by the hair. So that was interesting to see. And then like you progress later in the show, and he was like, okay, so like I see what they're doing, and like it's working very effectively in each match, and they're all doing it different ways, as opposed to like the kind of like the mixed match challenge or whatever else, where it's kind of like it's the same thing every single time. So
did you guys notice that Kento literally put him in an arm lock and like arm barred him to get him? Like they don't do that in New Japan. Like the referees never show any kind of like actual force.
Right.
He arm barred him to get him to let go. Like, yeah, which kind of showed like how serious it was.
Yeah, they all played it up very well, and like, even teasing like the as they call it now, the Ferial mist, right?
Yeah.
So we had that, like, yeah. So like Natsupoi, like she, Rich is very, very Rich. Used to be the one that, like huge in the bandwagon. He used to be riding shotgun with me in the Natsupoi bandwagon thing, but ever since she left Dom Del Mondo to join Cosmic Angels, he like Prosado non grata, like public enemy #1 now. So like she's just like this, very much like Kyrie, like this very, very like likable, infectious smile. Like she was a fairy. Like she's literally she's like Tinkerbell. She's literally like Tinkerbell, and like you have to kill her to death 1,000 times to actually put her away. She's that kind of like fight for any type, and to see her like that kind of personality, like literally be Tinkerbell, and like she's with Kanemaru, and Kanemaru teach her how to like drink. Like she was funny. Like to see that inside the Stardom Dojo, and then to see like Taichi and Kanemaru try to do like the dive, and they were struggling with the ropes, and then like they lead up to that in the match where like they actually just assist them in the dive. Like all this was cool, and then like to see Momo like she wants at the beginning of the match to like trade the Ibushi Taichi kicks from the G1 like a couple years ago. Like she wants to do that with Taichi, but it's like, no, this woman, we're not starting with that. We're not doing that. Like it was like it got over so many of the personalities in a way that like I think the first time viewer were like, oh, okay, I get who this person is. This person like, okay, this person X, they do X, Y, and Z, cool. So I thought it was a success.
I'll tell you one thing about Black Desire. That's gimmick infringement. Hoodlums where one's smaller than the other one, and one of them carries a bat, and one of them covers their face? Who does that sound like?
Darby and Sting.
So another dynamic here. Momo Watanabe would definitely meet like Dookie out on the streets. And like Doki's just this dude that's living fast, living the life, and then he comes across like Momo Watanabe and she starts riding shotgun with him.
Kevin Kelly mentioned that like he said something like they're both downtrodden or whatever else, and I fucking helped because like you said that in the preview, and I was like,
it's the same.
I'm looking for all the angles here.
Doki gotta tell her we ain't going back. Like,
yep,
we're moving forward.
You got to ride with me. We gonna figure this out.
Listen, Doki never loses. He goes forward. She needs to jump on the bandwagon with him and move forward.
Yeah, but I get the finishing stretch of this was like Taichi in there with Doki, and Taichi eventually puts him away with the Black Mephisto. And then after the match, do you guys know what happened in the match? After the match, or you want me just to recap you in?
Go ahead.
Okay, so after the match, like he basically pulls Tam aside and like does it obviously close to like the, you know, if you say hard cam sort of close towards the mic, and basically like encourages her to say, hey, you need to, you know, be the first challenger for the IWGP Women's title at like 1-4. And she was like, should I do that? And like I don't have the translations, but like you can kind of see that's where it's going, and you can hear Charlton like kind of fill you in on that what was going on. So like, you know, later in the show that ends up happening, but I was like Taichi has an actual friend. He's actually like encouraging this woman. Like I didn't know Taichi had this in him. Like
Taichi's got friends. Like
he does.
Him and Zach are like really close. And when Despy,
that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it.
Lance Archer, he was at the barbecue at Archer's house.
Him and Lance Archer are very good friends.
Okay, so I get. He actually, I know he's not a antisocial person, doesn't have any friends, but like that's the gimmick that he's putting over, like doing this whole thing is that he doesn't have friends.
Yeah,
like with the whole Tam thing, it's like I don't have any friends. Like when there was one week when I think the the G1 final, Shuri and Julia were both presented flowers to Okada and Ospreay. That same weekend, like I think it was Okan, and it may have been Okan, it may have been Desperado, or it was Desperado and Taichi at one of the Stardom pay-per-views, and they presented flowers for like Tam and whoever else or whatever else, and Natsupoi. And at the time, like post, you know, setting up the road to Historic Crossover before they eventually announced that they're going to be tagged together, like Taichi was like, I don't have any friends. Like, can you be my friends? Like that was like a thing he said. He was just being funny.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah, that was another good match. What we got next, Jeremy?
So next we got Hiroshi Tanahashi and Utami Hayashishita. They defeated Hiroki Goto and Micah 9 minutes and 36 seconds.
I would like to rename Hiroshi Tanahashi right now. Hiroshi Ike Turner Hashi. He wasn't taking no shit.
Yeah, we talk about the level of the man on woman and woman on man violence increasing as the show goes on. Oh, we definitely saw that here in this matchup with Tanahashi. We got douchebag Tanahashi. You know, every once in a while, Tanahashi likes to be a heel. He likes to break the rules, and that's what we got here. He got in there. He was holding. Who was he holding on to? Micah. He's holding Micah, and then he does the shote, the slap to her at one point. He put stomping a mud hole, gets his Stone Cold Steve Austin on, just dropping the boots on, and he hits his ace pose on her.
The whole time. Right, because they started the match with Utami and Micah, and then they immediately both go to clear the male counterparts off the ring. So from there, like once they do their trade off of technical stuff and then tag out. So as Goto and Tanahashi are circling, like Tanahashi, he turns towards like Micah in the corner. He does one of these, like I'll
I ain't afraid.
Right, and then it continued throughout the match, and like eventually Tanahashi got his back. It's like, okay, that's fine. And then he kept going, and then it turned into a thing where it's like, all right, when is Mike gonna get hers? When is Tanahashi gonna get his? And like, it was funny as hell to me because it was like, this is like one of the greatest baby faces to ever live, and he's just like, he's out here going back and forth with Micah, and then eventually Micah got a backdrop driver on him. It's like it was so good. It was so fun.
Beating women out here. How'd you like this, Josh?
Oh, this was my favorite part of the show, and not because of the gimmick, like not because of that, like legitimately because of how funny Tanahashi is. Anytime Tanahashi does heeldom, it always pops me, and like what you mentioned, Jeremy, like where he like rushed into the ring and he started putting the boots to her, and then he did the freaking pose, and then the referee turns around and he was like, and he like
ran back to the corner.
Yeah. There was a spot where like I think him and Utami both put the boots to Micah while like Goto had a ref, and then like Tanahashi has all the time and he knows like that the ref is gonna have his back turned until Goto gives him the word to turn around. But like Tanahashi, like he ran back into the apron to get into this corner, and then I was like, "He's such a sneaky bitch."
It's so funny. It's very rare that we see that the appearance of Dick Tanahashi, but it exists.
He was being challenged, like New Japan. Someone was trying to infringe upon the line. Like we've seen Tanahashi not take respect. Remember, like when they threw that belt. And Noah and he had to run up and say this will not stand. You know what happens like when somebody tries to come back to New Japan. You know how you treated Shibata.
It's like when he disrespected DDT and he buried the whole fucking promotion when he was there doing a show. Like, yeah, he saw that everyone else thought that this show was a collaboration and they're all working together. And he was like, "Oh, y'all want to show up in our territory on our no?"
He's like, Mikey, you trying to take my spot? Like,
you want to be the ace?
Nah, hold it, Shote.
Bro, when he gave her that freaking slap, I couldn't believe he did that. Like, I don't know. I was shocked. It was really funny.
We need to go ahead and get that clip and then like edit it in with that one you always talk about, Josh. And that's what you get for dealing with the ace.
Oh my god!
But what I liked about it is what you mentioned earlier, James, is that like this wasn't a cookie cutter. Every single one of these mixed tags were all the same. They were all different flavors and ways to kind of work these matches. They all offered something different, and it was really fun and cool.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, in a world where I'm the person that's in charge of the multi-million-dollar wrestling promotions or whatever else, and can have the final say so, I let them go out there and do like Marufuji and Asuka versus like Meiko Satomura and Minoru Suzuki. But you're not getting 7,000 people. You're not getting 7,000 people to arena to watch like Minoru Suzuki beat the living shit out of Asuka like that. You know what I'm saying? Or Asuka Kana. You know what I mean? Like so no. But like this was very entertaining for all the stuff they did, and I thought like ultimately like everybody the men that got their shit in or whatever else, like they got that shit back.
Yeah.
So like that that's the main thing to make it work.
I wish that this grace of women allowing women to be hit was extended to when Will Ospreay dropped B Priestley.
Bro, I was literally gonna say the same thing.
Not a soul has come up in uproar about Hiroshi Tanahashi slapping this woman, even though these were two pro wrestlers that agreed to this. Just like it was two pro wrestlers that agreed to this thing when people were reviling in horror and trying to run a griff about Will.
Wasn't it a cutter? Wasn't it RKO?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you tell me what. You tell me what gets more. No. You tell me what gets more calls or whatever else. Let's say on Wednesday, one of the male wrestlers hitting somebody with an RKO or somebody hitting somebody with a damn open hand slap.
It should be the slap, you would think.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. Like, hell, think about it like this, right? Randy Orton did that in a Royal Rumble with Nia, like what, 2-3 years ago? No one said shit.
The nuance of those who are going to argue against it is they're going to say that this was a situation where it was two wrestlers agreeing to compete in a competitive, moment. Whereas Will Ospreay and B, that was something that was taking place outside of the confines of a sporting event where
it happened literally at a sporting event.
No, but it
happened in a ring.
Yeah, but it was post-match, and they were clearly like, they were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, and so it was depiction of domestic violence. It's like what they're literally saying. That's what
you have a point. However, I would say to you,
it's not my point. I'm telling you what they said. I don't agree with it.
I would say those people have a degree of a point. I would say that it is all entertainment at the end of the day.
Also, I mean, they are wrestlers who were working together in
it was agreed upon.
All of these situations.
Look, man, if someone does I can promise you, if there was actual domestic violence happening, right, or any type of simulation of domestic violence in real life, they wouldn't be doing a fucking RKO to do it. Like,
right, but I will say is like it this all comes down to who the people are that does the thing, right? Like, and that's the point that you're making with the Tanahashi thing compared to Ospreay, like. That is who it is definitely the reason why it caused that kind of elicited that kind of
100%
talk at the time when it happened. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm willing to listen to someone talk about like how, like, you know, that was given that was a relationship, or she was a manager or valet, however you want to frame it, or whatever else. Like, she was a contracted professional wrestler for the same company that owns New Japan. So I can see why someone could be like, that's problematic. I could definitely see that, but like, I wouldn't put it on my television personally.
You know who else agrees with you? B. Priestley. She said so publicly. So I mean, I don't know what everyone was freaking out about, but I will tell you this: if Will Ospreay was in this match, and this isn't a cap for the guy, but if Will Ospreay was in this match and he put the boots to Micah, the internet would be on fire right now. Like, we would not hear the end of it, but we've heard nothing about Tanahashi doing it. You know why? Because he's the fucking ace.
Another reason he's the ace.
But yeah, so the match concluded. Utami hit the hijack bomb on Micah, got the pin there, and then post match we got Tanahashi and Utami playing the air guitar in tandem to close off that segment.
You know why? Because they're the ace. And Micah and Goto are Goto. That's why.
That's it.
The G stands for geeks.
It was funny to me because it's like Utami, while she is like an incredible wrestler, like she it was as if like this was all like done spontaneously. She was not expecting to do this. She didn't know how to. I have never even considered the idea of, or considered an air guitar. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing up there. And she was just like, look, I'm just out here having fun and whatever else. And I really enjoyed the smile on her face and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you know, you never in a million years while she started training for this shit. Like, she was trying to like train to have a match with Io Shirai before she left for WWE, and then she did. Like, you think that all of a sudden, like, she just imagine, like, if I keep doing this, I'll just be on the top of a ramp in Ariake Arena with fucking Tanahashi doing air guitar. Never in a million years. Like, she was happy as hell, and I was happy for her. So, congratulations, Utami, with your goofy ass self.
Zach Porter says Micah and Hiroki Goto were sent to go sit under a waterfall together.
They both done that at different times in their careers, yes.
So the next
every time I take a cold shower, I try to think of Goto and like will myself to take
I'm sorry, what?
You know.
Yeah, I go like this and I try to you know, withstand it.
When I take a shower, I just think of washing my ass thoroughly. But okay. Or whatever. I don't really be thinking about like dudes or wrestlers in general, but whatever.
Well, I'm always thinking about wrestling and dudes at all times, so I don't know what to tell you.
While showering.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. How's Megan?
She's sleeping. She's in another room. She's doing well.
Does she know that you think about dudes when you shower?
Yeah. She's well aware.
What?
Okay, moving on to the next match.
We have gone off the
rails. So we had a 10-man tag here. United Empire, Francisco Akira, Lord Gideon Gray, Kyle Fletcher, Mark Davis, and TJP. They defeated the LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu, Sanada, Shingo, and Tetsuya Naito. So again, this is kind of continuing the rivalry with United Empire and LIJ based off of what was going on with Ospreay and Naito. Plus, you have Kira and TJP. They're the current junior tag team champs in the junior tag league, and Bushi's in the tag league teaming up with Teton. So a little preview there. And then Aussie opens in the World Tag League, as well as Naito and Sanada. So comes some preview stuff for that. And I gotta say, Bushi He's super low on totem pole. He lost in a match where Gideon Gray was on the other end. This man,
I didn't even think of that.
This man Bushi is a bum, a geek.
The B in Bushi stands for bum.
This man couldn't win a multi-man match with Lord Gideon, the manager, on the other side.
Gee,
this is great. You know what? I in my mind initially, I'm thinking like that's really harsh, and then I think about like what Gideon Gray does in New Japan, and like he's a manager.
Exactly.
You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
Mouthpiece.
Look, you're right. I don't like that. You're right. That's like what this is. I'm trying to in my mind. I want to be like, it's not that bad. You ain't gotta. I'm like, you ain't gotta go there. You're not wrong. But you ain't gotta go there. Damn.
But I love it because I love Lord Gideon Gray. He's been great since he's been in New Japan and announcing United Empire and when he wrestles and the antics. Like, this man is gold. He is money, and I love me some Lord Gideon Gray.
Lord Gideon Gray is the best manager persona in wrestling today, period. Nobody's better.
Like, legitimately, you think so? Like, I'm honestly asking. I don't even know. Like, because I haven't watched as much as you have, obviously.
1,000,000%. There's no one today in AEW or WWE or anywhere that I know of that's better than this guy. He's the best.
Okay. Are you okay with him wrestling, or do you prefer it if he stayed out the ring?
I love when he's wrestling. He's terrible, but he's not actually terrible. He's the perfect.
He's a geek. He's playing a geek.
He's the perfect managerial wrestler. Like, he's better than Gato. He's better than everybody. He's great.
Okay.
Yeah, and the whole story of his family like paying for him to get the best wrestling training, but
he stinks.
Yes,
but sorry.
And Kevin Kelly
at least like his dad isn't like a legendary wrestler and he's just sorry. I think that's actually worse.
Yeah.
Megan walked
Go ahead, say it who you want to say. Go ahead.
Dom Mysterio.
There you go.
And Kevin,
that's not like kayfabe. That's just a shoot. Megan walked in during this match, during the part where Kevin Kelly was trying to put down, because that's his bit. He puts down Lord Gideon Gray, but like Waka didn't get it, and then so he's just like, he's so ugly, and like Megan's like, why is that man being so mean to that other man? I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah. Was it Gideon or was it Mark Davis? He was calling ugly.
It was Gideon because
he was talking about Lord Gideon Gray, but Mark Davis was the one in the ring. So if you were so you might. I was kind of the same way. I was like, who's he talking about? And I was like, oh,
okay,
it's Gideon Gray. It has to be because he is ugly.
Yeah, he was burying and he's like Waka.
That's his gimmick is to be ugly. I can't.
He's a bad person. And Waka's like, what? He is?
She's like, he's a nice guy.
Kevin called that man a money mark. Like he's a money mark. He likes to hang out with the fans, take pictures with wrestlers.
She was like, oh.
I've heard of that. There's an entire culture around sponsorship.
No.
The entire culture of sponsorship in Japan. Like, that's not a bad thing. And he's like, money mark.
Bro, we have to find someone that is a sponsor that is willing to come and talk about and be proud of what they do. Like, when the wrestlers come, to our country, we show them a good time and we'll go on the audio, on the air with us and talk about it.
Well, the only one I can think of would be like Massa, right?
Yeah, Massa,
yeah. Well, once I resume my wrestling career, I expect Social Suplex to sponsor me in that way.
Well, you can expect whatever you want, That's just like paying bills, like D.L. Hughley used to say, bill collector call you, when can we expect payment? Motherfucker, you can expect it whenever you want.
Oh my gosh.
Same energy.
Oh man! So, like I said, United Empire
match was good, by the way.
Yeah, this was a pretty fun.
They flew around. They flew around. It went short, and obviously, they had the goofy, some of the goofball stuff with Gideon Gray. Yeah.
But these are in my opinion, I think these are the two best multi-man units. LIJ and United Empire. Every time they're together, they do really good, and I thought this was really good.
Yeah, Aussie Open, they hit the Coriolis on Bushi to get the win here. So they're pushing Aussie Open really strong going into this World Tag League, which everybody is predicting they're going to win so they can do FTR Aussie Open 2, Commerce Kingdom 17, January 4th.
Unless the Bucks have something to say about it.
Carry on my waywards. Who's that?
Then you'll start hearing that rumbling. Oh,
Michael Jackson.
When we were on the
Jackson.
before we were recording the show, like Rich was singing the song by Kansas, and I was like, "Bitch, you didn't like that till Saturday." He's like, "I never heard of that song until Saturday."
Yeah, he told me the same thing. I think yesterday. Yeah,
it's so funny.
Oh my gosh!
He's like, it's catchy.
Catchy.
Look at that music altered tag on New Japan World though.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get to a unfortunate music altering thing later. But yeah, it was a fun match. I would have wished it went longer. I wish they had taken like 5 minutes from the semi-main event and put it towards this, or actually 5 minutes from the match that followed this. To be honest with you,
I didn't need that because this show was 5 hours already.
We could have dropped the whole House of Torture match, and
we could have cut that.
Well, yeah.
Then we wouldn't have any Bullet Club representation here.
We were talking about this before we started recording.
You say that like it's a bad thing in 2022.
When I woke up and started the show, I did not expect it 5 hours. I did not think I was watching a Wrestle Kingdom level show.
It was 9 matches.
I know.
Right?
I didn't
9
think they were
matches plus
getting
pre-show.
I didn't think they're getting 5 hours. I thought we were going to get like a smooth 3.5 hour show, literally.
You know what? You would have had it been Rossi booking this show, but it was a New Japan card, so everything had to go super long.
Oh, so everything bad is Gato's fault. Okay.
Rich, how long was the Budokan Hall show that went 10 matches?
I'm just joking. I don't care.
3.5 hours. Starting just gets the fuck on. Like, it just goes on and moves.
Moves, baby. But the next match we had, it was Great Muta's quote-unquote last New Japan match. So Great Muta was teaming up with Kazuchika Okada and Toru Yano. They defeated the United Empire team of Aaron Hanare, Great Okan, and Jeff Cobb, 9 minutes and 48 seconds.
Keep getting them checks, Great Muta.
Keiji Muto, man, Muto came out there and was sorry. Like, shit. Like, look, we've been saying this for a while now. The only thing this man has are shining wizards, shining elbows,
mist,
and dragon screws. That's all he has. He has nothing else, and that's what was on display here.
There was no moonsault.
Yeah, no moonsault.
They're saving that for the dome.
You got to have Great Muta's last New Japan Tokyo Dome match.
Correct.
Well, no. This was Great Muta's last match.
Right.
No one has said
Keiji
anything
Muto.
about Keiji Muto's last New Japan match.
Correct.
I thought that was one that what was the bill for Wrestle Kingdom 3, Wrestle Kingdom 93 last year? No.
I mean, it wasn't formally announced in that manner.
I misremembered that then. Okay, never mind.
I fully expect Keiji Muto to have a match on 1-4. 100%.
Yeah, I think I pitched a match to Josh earlier, which I could see pretty plausible because Naito's not doing anything.
Naito, oh my god!
So
you know what? You know what's funny is like I actually said that on the air, and I forgot you were the one who told it to me, and I thought that I came up with it, but you're right. Like I think that's the match.
It's like Tanahashi and Muto against Naito and Sonata.
Yeah, and that's the match that I brought up as well. I think that's what they're gonna do because none of those guys are doing anything else.
Look, it's better than I thought you were saying they're gonna just do like Muto versus Naito, like
Gray,
it's a
right?
singles match. I was like, oh
Bro.
man, that's awful.
During the preview for the show, I was nervous that because he was teamed up with Okada and they have nothing to do with one another, that this was going to be a bridge to getting an Okada versus Muto title match in like February or March before his retirement.
It might be. You ain't out the water on that.
Yeah, we're still not.
There's still plenty of time for that to play out.
You say you as though like I'm New Japan. Like
Yes, you.
James is not amused by this.
The one thing I will say, Great Muta, aside from his time in Jim Crockett, has never been a great wrestler. Like even when Keiji Muto was a good wrestler, Great Muta was never like all the things you guys listed that he's just, this, and this. Well, yeah, that's all Great Muta's ever been. He's never had great matches. So this kind of worked for me in that context.
I mean, I kind of like the Liger. I kind of like the Liger match when Keishan Liger came out, but whatever.
I like that. I like his matches, but he himself, they're more spectacle based. They're more.
Yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I was just pointing out this, like, even while that is the case,
yeah, the man can't move.
Right. He like, did you see him go down the stairs?
Yeah, that man was struggling.
Yeah, he's bow-legged. He's having a lot of issues.
It's like, bro, just go home and stay there.
That man was hitting dull wizards, not shiny wizards.
No,
look, them wizards were not making no contact. None.
One thing I will say though is that regardless of what you feel about Keiji Muto or the Great Muta, I thought that the trio that he was against were great. They played off of him impeccably.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys saw the post match. They basically there was the mist into Jeff Cobb's face, which was the green mist, and then there was the red mist that went into Great O'Khan's eyes. Well, during the post match promo, Jeff Cobb cut one of the fieriest promos, but because he was blinded, he was facing the poster the entire time, so his back's to the camera.
I missed that because I ended up having to skip through non-match sections to kind of catch up. But yeah, that's hilarious.
He's like, Great Buddha, we're gonna get you. Because he doesn't know which way to face. It's so funny.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this match, it was what it was. Nice. It's a nice moment for Great Muta.
Do y'all have a star rating for this match?
2.5.
I'd go 3.
I think I went 3.
I gave it 2 3/4.
It was fine for what it was. I mean, it was just
Not really, yeah. I'm
Muta send off.
Judging this seriously.
Yeah.
I was. I was like,
the reason he was is because it's technically a Stardom show.
I mean, I rate all these things, so it's whatever.
All right, let's move on to the semi.
Muta's out here bringing down the average.
He was. he really was.
On a team with Toru Yano, we're playing Muta.
Right. Like, bro, Okada's in the match for only the closing sequence. He wasn't in for any other part. And I was like, hey, man, this is. I know Okada's on this ring, on this apron. Like, what is this? Why did they put me into this situation here?
We're not even Yano fans like that, but James really hates Yano, so I didn't even think about that.
Yano's just completely. I don't hate him. I just find him to be useless.
Right. Okay. That's.
I don't hate him. I just think he's not for me, and the stuff he does annoys me. I don't hate him. I'm trying to think of wrestlers I actually hate.
All I'm saying is those
I just
guys
but I'm doing the semantics. I'm an anti-fan of him. Yeah, sure. You're right on that part. I'm not a fan of his at all.
All right, moving on to the semi-main event, we had the IWGP United States Heavyweight title on the line. The champion, the Commonwealth Kingpin, Will Ospreay. He defends and defeats the Roughneck Shooter Shota Umino, 23 minutes and 30 seconds.
This is an awesome match, man. Shota Umino is very impressive. He looks like he's rededicated himself to physical fitness from that time where he was kind of at his low in the UK, where we getting all those bad reports about him. Ever since I saw him at Forbidden Door, it feels like he's turned this thing all the way around. I think he's going to be a superstar. I have no worries about him, and he is needed in the landscape of New Japan. I think he's got it all, and there's somebody he's going to be replacing. I'm not going to put it on air, but I'm just going to sit with that thought for myself. And,
is it basically the same person? He has the same hair and goatee as?
I'd rather not say.
Okay.
But yeah, another one for Will. We already know like how talented this guy is, and this match was sensational.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I think over the past year, from the previous two matches that these two guys had, me and Jeremy both said on the air that like the tools are there, but they haven't fully put it together. There's definitely a better match that's, down the pipeline for them. And they went out there and they really delivered it here. I think they took all the best parts of the UK match and expanded on it and just told a much better story. And this is the most complete, like you mentioned, Rich, the most complete that we've seen Shooter Umino look, especially in this past like maybe 6 months where they've really started to tease and play around with the idea of bringing him back, giving him different high profile matches. This is the one where he like really knocked it out of the park and showed that he is able to hang on that level for a prolonged period of time in a New Japan style main event, working the house style. So I thought the match was great. I thought the story was great. I loved Will Ospreay's entrance attire, the homage to Hayabusa. Like that was really cool. And then obviously we'll talk about the post match, but this was, I thought it was a really, really great match. I went 4.5 on it.
Yeah,
that's what I had it at too.
So, yeah, 4.5. Really awesome matchup. I thought Umino was wrestling his ass off. Like he was showing like, all right, like I am here to be the next top star in this promotion. I thought he looked the most crisp I've seen him look, the best shape I've seen him look, the most confident I've seen him look. A lot of times what Rich was talking about on Excursion, like he was put in these big spots. He had matches with Ospreay. He had matches with Rookie Knight Jr. You put him in some of these big spots and he did not look confident. The other guys were kind of carrying him, but now it's completely different. He has full confidence. Like wrestling was great, super speed. He was keeping up with Ospreay. I really enjoyed Umino here, and I think he's kind of getting, it's almost the Jay White treatment here, where you lose your first big singles match, but then that ultimately will catapult you into bigger and better things.
And I like the dynamic with his dad too, because it's like it's clearly there, and Red Shoes like doesn't even want to look at him at times, like, and he so badly wants to treat him like every other wrestler or whatever. But you just kind of always see it there, and like the day like Red Shoes like breaks, like when he wins like the IWGP title or something, that shit's gonna be special.
Okay, so I have a question. Maybe it's because I was up against time on this. I gave it 4.5 like y'all did. But I felt like at times in this match, it felt like it's a total Ospreay match. Do you guys feel like you know what a Shota Umino match feels like or looks like yet?
No, not yet.
No. Okay.
And I mean, but we kind of felt that way about
I'm not saying this as if it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, Do you feel like you know yet what his actual thing is? This felt like just a total entire Will Ospreay production.
The only young lion I can remember returning from Excursion and being fully formed and being able to dictate the style of the match was probably Hiromu, and after him, nobody. It's pretty rare that they come in and are at that level to where you kind of know what their match looks like.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, thought it was a really great matchup. The closing stretch, they did play off the Royal Quest match with the elbows to the back of the head, but Umino got to the ropes, and then just a closing sequence with Ospreay killing this man with the hidden blade leading into the Stormbreaker, getting the big win there. Then, of course, post match, we got the big news. The screen, arena lights went down in the arena, and one Kenny Omega appears on the screen, talking about how he's come to save the promotion. The crowds got smaller, they got quiet. He's here to change all that.
COVID, the real virus is Will.
Yes, And he said, when New Japan called him, he was surprised that he's not interested, but in the good for pro wrestling and to save this promotion, he's gonna do it. He's going to wrestle Will Ospreay January 4th for the IWGP US title. And, we had a lot of questions about this match in this segment. I'm just going to run through these questions and we can just kind of have a discussion about this. So Craigie D said, who should Ospreay lose a US title to? Viking Pain says, I know you guys are Kenny Omega fans, but Will Ospreay should not be losing to another outsider like him. If Gato feeds the best wrestler in the world who's signed to the company and not even 30 to 40-year-old Kenny Omega, who's not even part of the company anymore, I'm done with New Japan. Les Commission 7252 says, do you think that the match between Omega and Ospreay will be the same level of attraction a few years ago between Jericho and Omega? The suspension of the Elite stalled the feud, but with the return of Omega back to Japan and having his first match back in the Tokyo Dome in over 3 years, this feels like the biggest attraction at Wrestle Kingdom ever since Alpha and Omega. And with Chris Charlton acknowledging that Omega vs. Ospreay might as well be the main event, do you guys think that it's right for New Japan to hold a vote for the fans to see who would represent the main event at Wrestle Kingdom? Adam says there were lots of hints throughout the show that they'll be cheering in the Dome next year, from Kevin Kelly on the commentary to Kenny saying it wasn't because of the pandemic that people weren't cheering. What do you think the odds are that we get cheering? I'm 6 for 10 right now. Rambo and Slam Pig says, what's the chance that any other match can top what Ospreay and Kenny are about to unleash on us at the Dome? Is the world title match going on after them a mistake, given the relative coldness of that program? And the Dark Soldier says, even though it's disrespectful to the world title, should Wrestle Kingdom main event with the US title match? It already feels hotter than the world title match and more fresh. Though I want Okada and Jay to have a great match, Omega and Ospreay feels more special and more like a main event.
It's a lot of questions saying the same thing.
Yes.
All hail Caesar's home. Kenny's returning to the Dome.
The only thing I thought when I listened to this was, Kenny was telling Will that there was no real virus, that the real virus was Will Ospreay. I mean, it sounds a little bit, deniery of Kenny. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, obviously, like the whole promo was saying, like the crowds were quiet, and he goes like, "Well, people say it was a pandemic, but it wasn't really." It was like, "Yeah, it was a pandemic. They have masks on. It's illegal for them to talk." What are you talking about, Kenny? Like he's just being a dick. It is great because like it's Kenny Omega's at his best when he is a smug dick to a Japanese audience. So yeah, that's how it works.
They broke the law though that day when that video came on.
They sound like they love him.
They broke the law when broke the law when what's name broke out the One Wing Angel in the Grand Prix. I do this now where like I interchange like Grand Prix and G1 now depending on whichever one I'm not talking about now. But anyway, like when they did the Ospreay and Okada final when he hit the One Wing Angel, like the crowd broke the law then too. Like it's a thing.
Man, it's fitting that on the week of, we make our return, or I make my return to Keepin It Strong Style. Kenny Omega shows back up in New Japan. What fortuitous timing here. I welcome the pure elitists to get upset about Kenny Omega coming back to the Dome. I welcome all the old memories of bitterness and anger and resentment for the best bout machine, a Hall of Famer. I'm reading this question from Viking Pain. Shout out to him. It was pretty interesting. I think these are some things you should consider, right? Because he's, the last thing he wrapped it up with was he's going to be done with New Japan if Kenny wins, right? He said, Will's not even 30 yet. I believe Will's 29. He said 40-year-old Kenny, I believe Kenny's 39. Kenny, a man that has not displayed any signs of like aging or falling off or anything like that. So I don't think age is the argument that you might want to make there. I would consider, if you're thinking about Will Ospreay, New Japan Pro Wrestling, the partnership with AEW, there are a lot worse things that can happen than Kenny Omega winning the first match. If that's gonna like send you off, like consider this. If you're you would be asking for a big favor in that case, right? And let's keep it a buck. the company with the upper hand here is AEW, between New Japan and AEW. They're doing them a solid by giving Kenny them that day. Now, if you're giving a clean job, say, all right, we do the clean job for Kenny Omega. What do you think is AEW is going to ask for in return? And down the road, it can be bigger than that. Like, could they hand Kenny back the IWGP Championship? Like, these are the things like you have to consider. Like when you're saying like,
well, they put it on Jay White. Why couldn't they put it on Kenny Omega again?
So
right.
I would be, I wouldn't marry yourself to the idea of like, unless you're, just really done with it, that's your prerogative, right? But if this is a true working relationship,
if you want to be done with it over that, then you may as well just be done with it now, because like there ain't that much that's holding you. To be honest, if this is what breaks your back, to be honest with you, you might as well just go on your journey without New Japan Pro Wrestling if like this one thing is what ends it for you.
Yeah,
this isn't Goldberg being shocked with the fucking cattle prod. Relax.
I think part of the idea is that like if Will Ospreay loses, and then doesn't get his win back or something, it's some sort of injustice,
There's no way that they're doing this series and Will Ospreay doesn't beat him at some point.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's
Kenny Omega wouldn't do it that way.
No, I agree, and I think people are sort of missing the point that if he does lose here, he's going to get the favor return, basically.
Yeah.
The other question I have about it is, okay, I know some people feel some sort of way about both these guys, just depending on where they stand in their fandom. But what if at the end of the day, this ends up being the greatest match in the history of wrestling? Because
then they'll lie.
Huh?
Then they'll just lie and say it wasn't. You know how this goes.
Yeah, they hate both of these guys. Like they hate everything about Kenny, and they hate everything about Will, because Will's really the next Kenny. And all throughout this thing, in the promo, Kenny told the truth. It was never Jay White. Jay White's about to get sent out there after them, and poor Kazuchika Okada that has to follow Jay White. The real replacement was always Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay's the one everyone has been afraid of for years, just like they were afraid of Kenny. They never were in fear of Jay White like that. Like, why? Because Ospreay has the same juice about pushing wrestling forward that Kenny had, and they don't like that shit, and it burns them up. And when these boys smoke the dome, I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna watch them lie. I'm gonna watch them scramble, and I'm gonna watch them cap, and then we gonna watch the star ratings that come in.
Yeah, I mean, this match is going to be nothing less but incredible. As far as whether or not it should main event or not, I mean,
that's a worthy question.
It's very tough. Obviously, it's in Japan, and it's going to be very hard to put two foreigners in the main event of the biggest show of the year. But however, like a lot of people mentioned, this does feel like a big attraction. It feels bigger than the main event. You had your English commentary team saying this is bigger than any title match that you can get. So it feels bigger than anything that's really happening right now in New Japan. And
I mean, it wouldn't be if like Jay White wasn't the champion, but they made Jay White the champion. That was their mistake.
I mean, I still think it would still feel pretty big regardless who the champion was. But I mean, yes, with the Jay White as champion and just how cold this Jay White Okada program has been, we've been talking about it the last several weeks now. I mean, they really haven't done much to really heat it up. They're doing it by the numbers, road to multi-man matchups, and because there were no briefcase defenses, there was only one Jay White title defense this fall. They've been dragging this cut and paste road to formula on since the G1s ended. We've got all these multi-man matches. There's been like no pull-aparts, no brutal attacks, no scathing promos, like
no stipulation or anything.
Yeah, nothing. It's just straight up Jay Okada, which is going to be a great match. Those guys have great matches together, but it just feels there's like no buzz or anything intriguing about it.
And this is a direct rematch of 6 months ago, so like that's also something else working. There's a lot
with a return with a back-to-back G1 winner. So was it last night I was talking about this Richard night before? I was talking about like, okay, last night we were like, okay, so if they're doing this Okada program, it's probably in line with like what we all thought it was going to be like after after Ospreay beat Naito in the semifinal of the G1 at Budokan Hall. Where it's like, okay, AEW and New Japan seem to be setting up for him to have like this like championship run, like all-time thing where they're putting together like you're gonna have a program with Okada, you're gonna have a program with Omega, and it's set for you to probably beat both of them and be the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, World Heavyweight Champion, whatever they call it now. So if that is the case, Okada, obviously, Ospreay has to win the G1 next year because he came this close to winning it this year. And if he does that, who does he have to face at Wrestle Kingdom 2 years from now? Or for 380 something days from now, 390 some days from now, it has to be Okada. So if that's the case, doesn't that mean Okada's about to get the belt right back from Jay White more likely than not? So why do we even if that's the case, why do we put the belt on Jay White to begin with?
Something to do.
And that's how you end up with this situation where like Omega comes in with Ospreay, and you're like, shit, most people won't look at this as main event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I fully agree with the projections of what's going to happen long term with the Ospreay and Okada stuff, but yeah, I mean,
he has to beat him at some point.
No, he does. I just don't know if it's going to happen with that exact scenario or whatever.
Okay, but, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When it comes to that match in particular, it's just, yeah, it's pretty cold. I think they took the title off Okada just so he could win it back. You know,
do you think they should just win Naito instead?
Huh?
Do you think they should just win Naito winning G1 this year instead?
I think Naito should have just I think Naito should have beat Jay White for the title in the lead up to this match.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess putting all that aside, I'm excited that we're getting Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega, and I feel like that's sort of lost in the discourse of all this,
because it's already started.
There's so many other things that people are talking about, and arguments, all that stuff, and it's just kind of stupid.
I just think maybe it's from my perspective. It was like, I think this match is one of the matches I like think of most of, like the match what I most want to see between two people that have like never had like some big stakes match together or big high profile match together. He's probably one of the first handful of people I put together in a matchup in that situation. And then like from there is like, so yeah, like I'm with it. There's nothing we really further discuss. And I'm thinking like, all right, so like what else is like seems to be what's more interesting to me? What interesting is like, how do we end up with Okada and Jay White being the presumed title match or whatever else? Like why did they think this was going to be like, at the time when they really need to sell tickets, why did they think this was going to be the thing that was going to put them over the top? I guess maybe that's, it's unfair to like connect it that way. But like once I see that match, I'm like, all right, what's the main event? Oh, that's the main event? And then I get to those questions. That's all.
And maybe it's the thing where the Omega Ospreay thing didn't come together maybe until later, and the plans were always Jay White Okada, and then they got handed this gem of a matchup.
I mean, there was definitely times where they thought it was going to be off because of what happened with CM Punk, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely a play.
It's going to be interesting because they've already done pretty well on tickets, relatively speaking already. It's going to be interesting to see if they get an increase or a bump from this match in particular. It'll kind of tell a lot about the drawing ability of this particular matchup,
Yeah, and they're pushing international ticket sales really hard. Mm-hmm. They created this whole little package you can do where you get...
It ends on Monday, right?
Yeah, you get meet and greets. You get to have like lunch with Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton and go New Year's Dash and Wrestle Kingdom. So there's this whole package New Japan's doing for international tickets, and they're definitely trying to get more, Westerners and international fans over for that show and, one night show. And yeah, they're throwing a lot of big guns here. And I think, like Josh mentioned, ticket sales are already surpassing some of the pandemic domes. And so it's going to be, kind of back to the old school, one night show with a great crowd.
Yeah, I would be interested if they I'm not saying it needs to go to a vote, but if they did put it to a vote, it'd be hilarious. I would be interested in the results.
I would too. But I mean, also, I think it might not be the same exact feeling for the domestic audience as it is for like the Western fans, you know?
What that was Wrestle Kingdom 8, right?
Yeah.
What beat Naito and Okada? What was it? I forgot. Tanahashi and who? Nakamura?
Nakamura.
That's what it was. Okay, yeah.
I'm trying to see. I don't see any other match that's topping them. Rambones. I don't think it's a mistake
on that show.
Yeah, on that show.
No.
No.
The world title going on last. You know, I think the world title should go on last. Like, but that's on them. Like, you know, like we know what the real main event is.
I mean, that used to be the Kenny Omega world title.
Yeah, that Kenny's winning back the Kenny Omega world title. I would be very happy about that. But yeah, man, I think Ospreay and Omega are like two of the most gifted and phenomenal wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. There's a really cool story between them as far as like, you know, a lot of time in sports, like greats of that just miss each other, right? Like, you know, we never got to see LeBron and Kobe in the finals or something like that. Like it's like ships passing in the night. And the fact we're getting this and like Kenny's come back off an injury looking like as close to, you know, his peak as he's ever been. And we know what kind of run Will is on. I would just tell people to enjoy like the fact that this is even fucking happening, because this is like, this is top level shit. Like this is top level shit. Like this is like, there's so much when you really break it down like that, you can think about narratively that lines up with this. And their promos are really heated. They've been working on this thing for a while. And I'm sure both guys like, you know, want to prove something to themselves, to everyone else. And, you know, I'm sure they have like we know like what Kenny was telling Will when Kenny left New Japan, like the responsibility he gave him. He didn't go up to anybody else and say, you know, this is your shit now. So like, I'm sure there's a lot of respect between those guys. I think is going to be cool to see play out in the ring.
There was also that sort of dream match essence to it, similar to what we saw when Jericho did the same thing to Kenny Omega. And if this match had happened in any other time in their careers, it just wouldn't be what it is today, which, you know, it's kind of crescendoing where both guys are at this, you know, top level, not just from a performance standpoint, but also character wise, and they're at their hottest. So this happening now is like, from that standpoint, like this is the perfect time to do a big dream match like this. And yeah, I think we might literally see one of the greatest matches that has ever happened.
Devil Sky, baby. Devil Sky, baby. Let's go.
And for people who are worried about Ospreay losing, I mean, post match he's cutting a promo saying, you know, maybe he needs to bring back the assassin. You haven't seen the aerial assassin in a while. To me, that screams Naito trying to bring back Stardust Genius and failing. So this could be Ospreay thinking he needs to do something, you know, be the aerial assassin to try and meet Omega, and then that costs him and he loses. And so then he learns, like, all right, maybe I don't need to go back to the past. I need to be Will Ospreay today to beat Omega, and you get the rematch, and he beats him then. So there's a lot of story elements that could lead to Ospreay losing. And I think it would be fine because he's going to get the win back. They're going to do a story. It will be compelling.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about this more as we, you know, build to Wrestle Kingdom 17. Let's talk about this main event here real quick. We had the crowning of the first ever IWGP Women's Champion in the finals of this tournament.
They gave out the toy, the trinket.
The trinket.
You know?
The Pirate Princess Kairi, she defeated Mayu Iwatani 25 minutes and 28 seconds in one heck of a main event. This was awesome.
Yes. I went 4 3/4 on this match. I think this is Kairi's best match since she's been back. I think some of her matches have just been like, okay. And it really hasn't, like, I don't think she's like really got to stretch her legs much in like main events, but this weekend like kind of belonged to her, I think. And it was you know, it was cool to see her win. I had picked Mayu going into it, and I think a lot of people, like, you know, were upset Mayu lost. But for me, this like kind of comes down to, you know, what we kind of thought this belt would be. And we know New Japan and, you know, they like people from WWE. Kairi's a big name internationally, and they're gonna start it with her. Who says Mayu can't, like, you know, win it one day? But I do understand, like, those people that were wanting Mayu to win. But this match was sensational. Lots of emotion, lots of just physicality, and just kicking the shit out of each other. Like this was, they came through and delivered heavy, and I was proud to have, like, been following Stardom to let them, you know, for them to lead with a main event like this in this, you know, fashion, because there, you know, there's a lot of, like, you know, people that, you know, they not beyond Josh, who's doing a gimmick, if you guys didn't know, like, that come out here and just say that they don't like Joshi, they don't understand it, they don't do anything. I feel like I could fucking put an alien here and let them watch this match, and they could figure out what's going on here.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this match. I mean, I think we could probably safely say this is the greatest women's match in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling. But I enjoyed it to the point where I'm the same rating as you, Rich. I'm 4 3/4. I thought this was, for me, the match of the weekend anywhere in the world, including, you know, AEW and what I saw in Stardom. I thought that this was a truly fitting, you know, inaugural title crowning match. And the story that was kind of laid out with these two women, and the history that they had with one another, and with Kairi leaving and then coming back and everything like that, it just all kind of fit together. The tournament was booked to crescendo here, and it really paid off. It was awesome. And the match itself, I mean, it had a little bit of everything in there. You know, you saw the chain grappling, you saw some of the high speed spots, you saw, you know, great heat and everything. People were, you know, there's high flying. But what I loved was, like, the violent nature of it when they were going blow for blow, and the back, you know, I forget what it's called, but the back fists and just
Cutlass.
Yeah, there was some really, really brutal stuff in here, which, like, you know, really impressed me. I don't know. I thought this match was incredible. And as far as the outcome goes with Kairi, it just, to me, from a business standpoint, I always thought this is what they were going to do. Keep in mind, I'm not a Stardom viewer, so maybe being on the outside looking in, it's a little different. But to me, she's this hot commodity that they've invested into that is currently not hot, and kind of needed something to catapult and push her back to the status she was previously. So I think, you know, Mayu at this point is almost sort of like Tanahashi, and can be fine after a loss like this. And, you know, it still probably has a lot more to achieve. And like Rich said, probably could win this title down the road. But I think not only for the audience in the West, but also for Kairi herself, it makes sense across the board for her to be the first champion, and, you know, put the attention back on her and maybe heat her back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like we've mentioned the last couple of weeks, you know, this title is going to be used for, you know, strong tours and strong pay-per-views, and Kairi has that WWE experience and fan base and exposure here in America. So if you also, Mayu does have some exposure too, but not to that level. You know, Mayu's done a lot of Ring of Honor, and I think a lot of diehard fans know who she is. But I would assume that more people probably know who Kairi is based off of her time in NXT and the main roster. So using her as a draw on these strong tapings, these, you know, strong pay-per-views they've been doing, like Windy City Riot and Capital Collision. You can use her to draw, especially if they want to try and run a little bit of bigger buildings. I think that'd be an interesting attraction. But yeah, overall, the match was great. I also went 4.75, and yeah, I gasped so many times at Kairi when she was doing the spinning back fists, and she was killing Mayu with those. And of course, Mayu's bumping around like crazy, like her neck is, you know, just made of springs, or, you know, it's Gumby clay. And so, yeah, they told an incredible story. Obviously, there's a ton of backstory with the whole, being 2 or 3 daughters of Stardom and just kind of their history here. Like we mentioned earlier, Waka added a lot of great stuff too throughout this match and how emotional she was getting and just crying as the match was going on. But yeah, just really, really incredible matchup. A great way to kind of kick off this, lineage and legacy of the IWGP Women's title.
Dr. Joshi, tag in, hot tag.
I don't have much more to say than what y'all already said. I will say that, my stupid phone gave me a push notification in the middle of recording the post show thing for Full Gear yesterday. So in the middle of the podcast, I looked down at my phone's post notification. It says Kyrie wins IWGP. Fuck. Tam Nakano. Fuck. What? Anyway, so my initial viewing thing is ruined. I'm gonna have to watch it again to get an idea of how I felt watching it for real, because I'm always lower on matches that when I already know the result, and then the second time watching I kind of get an actual deeper appreciation for the match. But generally speaking, this is very much like their last 2 title matches from 2015 to 17. The red belt match was in 2015. 2017 was the white belt match. Kyrie won the 2015 match for red belt. Mayu won the white belt match in 2017 before Kyrie left for WWE. And it fits in line. It's more physical than both of those, just from the brutality of just the brutality of the spinning back fist. But generally speaking, Kyrie, when she has big title matches, when she was in Stardom at first, before she left for WWE, was like, I am going to work over your core. I'm going to work over your core, Bret Hart style. There's going to be, obviously, I'm going to do other stuff besides it, but I'm going to focus on your core, and then I'm going to drop an elbow on your back, and then I'm going to flip you over and drop an elbow on your chest, and you can't kick out because you're done, and you can't bridge out nothing because your core is destroyed. Mayu always will answer with, I'm just going to destroy her right arm. So we're if she's going to eventually get up there, drop an elbow, it's going to come at a cost. And very similar to, you have messed up ribs, you hit a frog splash, you have to sell, and you can't get the pinfall because you're in so much pain. And that's always been a trade between both of them. And this was their classic story of them doing that, but with the added twist of the brutality and the incredible selling. And this is the reason why I've said that Mayu is the best combination bumper seller I've ever seen. That right there is on display. And I mean, they just had a great match. This is their best match that I've seen them have. And those matches that I said from 2015-17, those are the reasons why we're here covering this. And that's the reason why we started covering One Nation started covering Stardom, was going through watching Kyrie in NXT and hearing that there's another woman named Mayu Iwatani and Io Shirai, and Io comes to WWE, and I'm all right, let me look around and see their matches, and it's being blown away from their matches with each other and their matches with Meiko Satomura, and just being I gotta watch this. I just gotta watch this. And this is what I was seeing. I don't think this isn't the best Stardom match ever or anything like that, but this is the best Kyrie match. I think it's on the top shorthand list though. But it felt really good to see her this weekend kind of reach back and be the person that I would go into their vault and look at and kind of be what was she like outside of WWE before? And just to see the Meiko matches or the Io matches or the Mayu matches or matches with foreigners that weren't all that good, but see how she could carry it in big matches and stuff, and with some of the younger wrestlers that are now more experienced and some of the best wrestlers in the world. And it was all that time away from or in WWE, being told less is more all the time, and to slow down and don't hit as hard or all this other stuff she was told that was against her instinctual training for what she was put through from Fuka and Nanai and all those other people, to see that ever since she first came back, you can kind of see the physicality picked right back up. Her first weekend back, she did a shoot headbutt and then ruptured her eardrum, right? But to get back to this point where it's oh, someone's face might get broken. we're at that point. We're back at that point now with Kairi in the journey. So like that was really fun. And Mayu, like, you know, she's my favorite wrestler for a reason. When back against the wall, big stakes, she does this. Rich has seen it, right? Like the 2020 series with Takumi Iroha was this. It was this level of violence. I think those matches were better than this, but still same thing. It's just she can, when she wants to like bring out like the killer super physical, this may be going beyond the pale type of thing, she can do that. And it was cool to see her dust that off because she really hasn't done that much since she lost the red belt in 2020. So I love the match and was super happy. And like for those two, I know they were happy that they could have that match with, you know, the stuff they've been able to do with each other in the past. Like, I know they told the story of Mayu never said she never liked each other. That's bullshit. They're friends. That's just, she's kayfabing to try to add to the story of like them at the end, like when they're both in tears on the floor, on the mat. Like that was to get to that point. And like, it was awesome. It was one of the more emotional matches in Stardom in the last few years. It was awesome.
What do you make of the you know, a lot of people upset like about Mayu not being the one to get get tapped on her head for the belt.
So Waka, look, Waka is not in Star. She is not being led by Mayu Itani, but she was a mess for Mayu. But yeah, I can understand the frustration of that. You know, because people have the thing about part-timers, whatever else. There's also the part where like the IWGP Women's title more or less is serving the same function the SWA belt had, and Mayu relinquished that belt recently to get this, to focus on this belt, and now like she doesn't have it. So I can understand being frustrated because, like, you know, regardless of whatever Kairi does with it, those matches are gonna be great, but like she's not as good as Mayu is. But whatever. Mayu's gonna have another run before it's all over, it's said and done. Like she has a movie coming out, I think next year or 2024. So she'll have the run then. It'll be fine. Now, you know, I had to, after the match ended, like quickly, I couldn't get to the post-match interaction between whatever Tam and Kairi said, but like Tam and Kairi, like since the first press conference when Kairi came back, the first person she said she wanted to face in a singles competition was Tam. So I'm interested to see that. Apparently that's on for Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, so yeah, right? Tam came out and challenged, so it is official. January 4th, the first defense of the IWGP Women's title will be Kairi defending against Tam Nakano. That's
gonna be fun. That's the first match I wanted to see Kairi have coming back. Like I'm a big Tam fan because like Tam's my second favorite wrestler. Like I became a fan of Tam because she reminded me so much of it, honestly, because of these two. Like she reminds so much of Kairi, and then like at the time Tam was like this hype woman for Mayu. Like Mayu's the greatest, she's awesome, all I want to do is be a tag team partner, she's so great. And then like over time as she grows, you see like, nah, you're fucking great too. So yeah, like it's really interesting to see like these two similar ages, similar sizes, similar mind or thought processes for like selling and putting over stuff. Like it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. Like it's gonna, I don't think it'll be as good as this. I don't think so. Maybe we'll see. But like their exchange in Sumo Hall earlier this year like was electric in their tag match. So like I'm not gonna put a limit on what they could do, but like at the worst it'll be great.
Yeah. So we had a few questions here. Let's answer these pretty quickly so we can get out of here. MJPR says, how would you like to see the IWGP Women's title used? Where should it be positioned on cards? What style of matches do you expect to see?
I mean, if Kairi has it, like this is going to be kind of typical. It's going to be emotional and physical, and like it's going to tell logical storytelling, logical stories, like from point A to point B of why things hurt and why and how it progresses, whatever else. Like she's an incredible storyteller. So that's what it's going to be while she has the belt.
Yeah, and I think, you know, having it on Wrestle Kingdom, Dominions, G1 Finals, Sakura Genesis, you have them on the big shows, and then you put them on Strong, you do some Strong pay-per-views. I think that's where a good spot for it to be.
I could see it like third from the top, like at certain places, maybe 4 from the top.
Yeah, I can see that.
Dark Soldier says, should Kyrie have brought in her crewmates to celebrate? She's a pirate. She obviously has to have a crew in her ship.
She does not have a crew as of right now. The closest thing that she has to a crew is like an assortment of friendships over time. So if you notice, like the only person that she had at ringside with her on Sunday night was Natsupoi. Natsupoi was in a different promotion when she first started. Same for Tam. But like as that company was starting up, Kyrie had Natsupoi around, so like there was always like a mentorship thing around. So like Natsupoi ended up but it eventually ended up in Stardom, and then Kyrie came back and it was like, oh, Big Homie is here and I'm actually here now, and so they rekindled their friendship in a way. There's also as I mentioned with Tam and Kyrie, like there's a mutual respect. So like Tam will accompany her every so often. And then there's also Nanae Takahashi, the first red belt champion in Stardom. She's back in Stardom. Yeah, they were once a tag team, and they came in on Kyrie's bike one time, and so people named it up like the Undertaker American Badass Rollin' thing. Yeah, so like a lot of the pay-per-views that Kyrie's on, Nanae will also be on as well. So like there'll also be she also will accompany her or corner her at times too. So yeah, like she kind of has a loose, she doesn't have any real like strict associations or alliances, or like she's not in a faction, but she has a few friends here and there right now in Stardom.
Then moving on to the last question, because the other two questions I feel like we answered. So Rambo Sad Pig says, what mixed gender tag team displayed the best chemistry at Historic Crossover?
I think it was probably Shuri and ZSJ.
You mean Julia and ZSJ?
Oh, that's what I meant. My bad.
I'll probably say Meltier and Kanemaru and Taichi because of the stuff they set up, and then the stuff they actually pulled off in their matches, and then the chemistry post match where like, you know, Taichi's like, you know what, you should be the first person to challenge at Wrestle Kingdom for the IWGP belt. Like I storyline, all the stuff is in place like long term of sowing seeds for all of that, and then the match happened. So I'll go with them.
I'm gonna go with Hiroshi Tanahashi and Utami Hayashishita.
Their love of beating up Micah.
Their shared love of beating women, and you know.
Oh man, yeah, I think I'm gonna go also with Julia and Zack Sabre. I felt like they gelled together really well, and I would like to see them kind of do some more stuff in the future. Well, all right, guys, that's going to wrap up our historic crossover pay-per-view. I guess we should all do our plugs since there's multiple.
Nah, you just do the plugs. I ain't got to do it.
All right, so all the plugs. You could follow the One Nation Radio at One Nation Radio on Twitter. Listen to them on either their solo feed or the Social Suplex Podcast Network feed. Check out their Twitch channel. You can watch their shows live stream on there. For us, you can follow the show at KI Strong Style. Of course, we drop here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Also, you can subscribe to our individual feed as well.
Pleasure being on with you guys, and looking forward to Wrestle Kingdom season.
Yeah.
You know, New Japan's back, baby.
Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Shop Macy's Black Friday specials and find epic deals on gifts they'll love now while supplies last. Like 40% off head-to-toe Levi's for men, women, and kids. 70% off gold earrings, bracelets, and bangles. And the Ninja Professional Blender, just $79.95. Plus, get free curbside pickup or pickup in store today at Macy's. Details at Macy's.com/pickup. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. You're not just some reckless rookie, YOLOing your portfolio, ready to risk it all on some shiny new coin. You're on Robinhood now, trading ETFs, tracking the S&P, working that DCA. You're breaking free from bots, bankers, and all that bull. You're doing it all, and on your terms. Because no one runs your money like you. Stocks and ETFs offered by Robinhood Financial LLC. Member SIPC. Crypto offered by Robinhood Crypto LLC. All investing involves risk.
All right, and we are back. Always fun, chatting up with Rich and James.
Back. Good. Yeah. So great to speak with those guys. I think have we done one other episode of One Nation Radio where it was the two of us, I believe?
Yeah, actually, you know what? We did. There actually was a Keeping It Strong Style with the four of us. Now I think about it, it was New Orleans, the Mania weekend, where you and Rich were arguing over Cody.
Yeah, and I was right. Look who's a superstar now. I love to talk shit about our guests when they're not on the air and they can't retort me in any way.
Oh, man.
No, I'm just playing. I guess we did, but we've never done like a remote version like this. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting because it's the first time we've ever done simulcast, quote unquote, audio. So the last segment that you just heard, that will also be airing on One Nation Radio. So you can catch it here, you can catch it there. I believe that the version that they have is also going to be accompanied with video, which we don't do live video, but maybe I'm selling you to go over there and give them your download as well. But I think how did they do that? Is that on Twitch?
Yeah, you go to the One Nation Radio Twitch channel. Check out, Rich normally tweets out the link for the Twitch, and you can watch the show live on Twitch. And I believe there'll be video replays, and of course, Rich also does a lot of clips that goes up on the Social Suplex YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed to that. 'Cause a lot of funny clips from Rich and James on that channel.
Yeah, I told Rich, I was like, oh, we're doing video. Like, we don't do video. I got to get presentable. And he was like, for the hoes.
Man.
When realistically, if you are a female listening to our show, we greatly appreciate it because I'm sure that the demographics are like primarily male.
Yeah, I looked on Spotify. I think the demo is like 18 to 34, mostly males.
Gotcha. Well, I didn't know Spotify like tells you that info.
Yeah.
Does it say the percentage breakdown?
It does, yeah.
Like, what's the percentage of like females that listen to the show?
Hold on, let me pull it up. Hold on, let's see here.
Well, while he's doing that, we will eagerly anticipate. I didn't know that the show was going to go this way, but I think we're holding off from discussing the many, many nights of World Tag League. By the way, as you guys are listening, Jeremy has already done God's work this week. He's already watched the first night of World Tag League / Junior Tag League, so he'll be able to give you a little bit of insight to what he saw on that first night. Maybe that will cut down his workload for next week. Are you going to have a guest on the show with you, or are you going to do it by yourself, you think?
I'm going to try and reach out to somebody, but we'll see if I can get anybody. If not, then I'll do a solo show.
Gotcha.
All right, so here's the stats here. So we have,
and this is just
Spotify.
Spotify. So this is not like encompassing from all the downloads we get from like other platforms, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So we have 91% male.
Wow. That's like less than I thought it would be. I thought it would be like 98 with like a 2% female audience. I like, hopefully we're not like, I don't know. Hopefully this is like a welcoming podcast environment.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I don't ever put that much thought into like who's actually listening, because to me it's just you and me having a discussion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's always weird when I like actually put any like consideration to the idea that there are a lot of people in the community that are actually listening to this for entertainment and then also for information about New Japan Pro Wrestling. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird in that way because I don't think about that much at all,
Yeah.
And I definitely don't think about who's on the other side of the show. Not that I don't appreciate it. I just it's almost hard for me to kind of imagine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's kind of like humbling in a way if you think about it.
And our biggest age demo is the 28 to 34 males. So 100% of the 28 to 34 all being males, 43% overall of the listenership is 28 to 34 males.
100%?
So like 100% out of the 28 to 34, all of them are males who listen to the show.
Gotcha. So like we don't really skew young, or like we're right in that like you said 28 to 34.
Yeah, it's so 43% of our audience is 20.
So basically people like us specifically.
Yeah. So there you go. Keeping It Strong Style audience breakdown.
Yeah, I don't remember where. We were watching the AEW pay-per-view the other night, and I was making a joke, and it's like, you know how like people talk about like the old head podcasters and how they're like so out of touch and stuff.
Yeah,
and be like, oh, you still listen to Cornette? Like, are you an idiot? That's what it's gonna be like with or like people are like, you still listen to Dave Meltzer? What's wrong with you? That's going to be us when we never stop doing the podcast at all.
Yeah.
Like 30 years from now, they're
yeah.
like, why do you listen to those dudes from Keepin It Strong Style? I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, you're like, yeah, we're going to be like covering, like New Japan's not going to be existing anymore. We're going to be like covering this like retro.
Why do you even listen to them? They just review old 2017 shows from New Japan. That company hasn't existed for 25 years.
Like Tony Khan bought them so long ago.
NXT Japan is the only real Japanese wrestling. Oh man. Well, I guess we should talk about World Tag League. Like I was mentioning, Jeremy, you watched today's show. Unfortunately, I was not able to get around to checking that out, but it looks like from the tweet I saw you send out, good things, right?
Yeah, pretty fun show. So the night one show that was today, November 21st. So us run through the card real quick. I won't give results, so that way I know probably people haven't had time to watch the show yet. I'll just kind of give my overall thoughts. So the show opened up, we had Vegeta and Nakajima. Then we had Makabe and Hanuma teaming up with Oscar Libu and Ryo Oiwa to take on Aaron Henare, Great Okan, and Aussie Open. We had Suzuki Guns, Despi, Suzuki, and Taichi taking on Hiromu, Shingo, and Naito. And then the Junior Tag League action kicked off. We had Alex Zane and El Lindemann against Kevin Knight and Kushida. Alex Zane coming out. He has the Strong Hearts logo written on his wrist tape, and so it seems like he is a honorary member of Strong Hearts for this tour. That was a really fun matchup. Kevin Knight's drop kick, incredible. Him and Kushida actually make a pretty good team. So that was a fun way to start the tournament off. Lots of flips. Then we had Wild Hips, Clark Connors, Taguchi against Doki and Kanemaru. Another solid matchup there. Then Flying Tiger versus Flying Tiger, Robbie Eagles, and Tiger Mask against House of Torture, Dick Togo, and Sho. I mean, it's House of Torture. There were some shenanigans, but overall still a pretty fun match. And then we had the Bullet Club team of Ace Austin and Chris Bay against Bushi and Teton. Chris Bay's Japan debut. Really fun match. Crowd was really into that team, both those teams there, and thought Chris Bay looked good in his Japan debut. And then the main event, the champions, Catch 2-2, Francisco Akira and TJP against the Chaos team of Leo Rush and Yo. And gotta say, man, Catch 2-2, super over. They were more popular than Yo and Leo Rush. Got tons of fan support in this match. And this was a really great main event here. Good way to end this show. Man, this Catch 2-2 team is just awesome. I'm glad they put these guys together. And so definitely should check that main event out if anything at all. Went 4 stars flat on it. The show is free on NJPW World, so if you don't have a subscription or some months you cut your subscription, well, check it out. The show is free on NJPW World.
Is it just the opening night, or are there several nights airing for free with this tour?
I'm not 100% sure. I think maybe these first 2 Corkin nights might end up being free, but that wasn't clear.
Did you watch with the Japanese commentary? Did you listen to the English commentary, Chris Charlton and his special guest, which I believe was Chase Owens?
Yeah, so I did listen to English, Chris Charlton and Chase Owens. Chase Owens, hilarious and awesome. He had a lot of great one-liners throughout the night. So yeah, he was really good on there. And Alex Zane will be on commentary tomorrow when the World Tag League kicks off.
Gotcha. So, I mean, how did Chris do? Because typically he's not a play-by-play guy.
I thought he did pretty good. I mean, he was calling the action. You had Chase in there to kind of like add the color, tell some stories, and just having some like funny reactions, is kind of telling his feeling on things. So I thought they made a good duo. I thought Chris pretty good without Kevin Kelly being there, and so yeah, overall it's enjoyable.
So between next week's show and this week's show, there will have been in total 7 nights of this tour, which is a 17-night tour. So that's a pretty hefty portion of it. We're going to go through the nights here very briefly. I was looking over this. I think we could probably just give people the tournament matches. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So night 2, November 22nd, we have Alex Coughlin and Gabe Kidd taking on the TMDK team of Mikey Nichols, Shane Haste. After that, there's the Suzuki Gun team of Archer and Suzuki taking on Fale and Owens. 6th match of the night, Bishamon will be facing off against the House of Torture. Aussie Open against Bebop tag team. And then in your main event, you have LIJ against Aaron Hanare and Great O'Khan.
Then on night 3, we return to the Super Junior Tag League. First matchup will be Kevin Knight and Kushida against Dick Togo and Sho. Then Clark Connors and Ryusuke Taguchi against Bushi and Teton. Flying Tiger will take on Leo Rush and Yo. In the semi-main event, Doki and Kanemaru will take on Ace Austin and Chris Bay. And your main event will be Alex Zane and El Lindemann against Catch 22, Francisco Akira, and TJP.
Night 4, jumping back into Super Junior Tag League action. We have Kevin Knight and Kushida taking on the team of Chaos, Leo Rush and Yo. 5th match of the night, Clark Connors and Ryusuke Taguchi taking on Alex Zane and El Lindemann. 6th match of the night, Flying Tiger against Doki and Kanemaru. Semi-main event, Bull Club team of Ace Austin and Chris Bay take on the House of Tortures, Dick Togo and Sho. And then in your main event, you have the IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions, Catch 22, taking on the team of LIJ, Bushi, and Teton, which is a return match from the multiple series of matches that they had on the previous tour. So that's a much anticipated match.
Yeah. Then night 5, November 26th, we are at the World Tag League. So we'll kick off with Alex Coughlin and Gabriel Kidd against Sonata and Naito. Then TMDK's Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste against United Empire's Aaron Hanare and Great O'Khan. Bullet Club's Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens against House of Torture's Evil and Yujiro. So Bullet Club versus Bullet Club there. Then we got the Bebop tag team, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Toru Yano against Suzuki Gun's Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki. And then the main event of this show will be Aussie Open, Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis against Bishamon, Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi.
Night 6, we have a combination of all tag tournament matches between the two different tournaments. So first match of the night, Kevin Knight and Kushida take on the LIJ team of Bushi and Teton. Second match of the night, World Tag League, Alex Coughlin and Gabe Kidd take on the United Empire's Aaron Hanare and Great O'Khan. Third match of the night, Zane and Lindemann take on the House of Torture Sho and Dick Togo. Fourth match of the night, Aussie Open's Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis take on Suzuki Gun's team of Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki. Fifth match of the night, Clark Connors and Ryusuke Taguchi take on the Bull Club team of Ace Austin and Chris Bay. Sixth match of the night, Bebop tag team take on the Bull Club's Fale and Chase Owens. Seventh match of the night, cast team of Leo Rush and Yo take on the Suzuki Gun team of Doki and Kanemaru. Eighth match of the night, TMDK take on the House of Torture in heavyweight tag action. Semi-main event is Flying Tiger against Catch 22, and then your main event is Bishamon against LIJ, Sonata, and Naito, which those are two really great main events back-to-back.
Yeah. So then night 7, November 28th, we'll be back to just a Super Junior tag night. So we'll have Clark Connors and Ryusuke Taguchi against Kevin Knight and Kushida. Catch 2-2 versus Sho and Dick Togo. Flying Tiger versus El Lindemann and Alex Zane. Bushi and Teton versus Doki and Kanemaru. And then the main event will be Leo Rush and Yo versus Ace Austin and Chris Bay.
Yeah, so, one of the things thinking about this tour, obviously I made mention earlier that typically like the 13th, 14th, or 15th is usually when the tour begins. And this year it's been pushed back to like the 21st. So they lost essentially almost a week. And that's probably the main reason why most of the tour is very abbreviated, especially considering that in the past, I know in the past couple of years, like during the pandemic, we had both World Tag League and Best of the Super Juniors. But prior to that, it used to just be World Tag League. So you got more rest down period, during that tour. And with them combining 2 tag tournaments back to back in an abbreviated amount of time, I think it kind of necessitated New Japan needing to do these 17 nights in, very short order, essentially.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, make up for lost time, get that tour kind of packed in, especially because, Road to Tokyo Dome tour will happen those last 2 nights there in December, and everything building towards Wrestle Kingdom 17, the press conference, all that good stuff that they normally do towards the end of December, building up to January 4th.
Well, some of the interesting things that are kind of occurring with this tournament as well, Wrestle Kingdom is shaping up as we know at this point, but there are big names that are on the tour like Hiroshi Tanahashi and Tetsuya Naito, who typically would have a big match spot for Wrestle Kingdom, and we still don't know what's going on with them. So I would imagine, whether it's determined during this tour or at the conclusion of the tour, at some point we're going to find out what their role for Wrestle Kingdom truly is, one way or the other.
Yeah, and they are doing some angle stuff on the undercards. Like on today's show, they set up a KOPW match with Shingo and Taichi for Takataichi Mania. It's happening this month. So that rivalry will continue, and I think that's going to be the last KOPW match for this year, and the winner will be, the 2022 KOPW champion.
Well, maybe not. I mean, I do know that they'd also teased that match during that major 50th anniversary show that didn't make tape for whatever reason, but they still released the backstage comments. But, we do still have a couple Road to Tokyo Dome shows, and there's every possibility that some sort of KOPW match lands on one of those shows. That would be traditional. I'm also kind of wondering if they don't change the rules and make an exception, and we wind up with those 2 guys going at it at Wrestle Kingdom once again.
Yeah, that might be the case. As we've been talking about with Wrestle Kingdom being 1 night this time, because the 2-night format, they were using the Rambo on night 1 to set up your KOPW for night 2. We don't have that this year, so
that we know of
as of right now. But I guess you could do the Rambo on the pre-show, and then on the main card you do. Or you do the KOPW New Year's Dash. I don't know. But I think it would just make more sense to just have the Rambo be the Rambo, and then just have the previous KOPW face off against somebody. And just, I would think it would be great. Yeah, you started off with Shingo and Taichi as the first 2 guys fighting for 2023.
You could do that, or you could just pivot away and maybe give, hypothetically, like, let's say Shingo, maybe you give Shingo some sort of special singles match for Wrestle Kingdom that becomes one of those de facto number 1, contender matches that they're apt to do. And we just move away from KOPW because it seems kind of superfluous anyways at this point.
Yeah.
Or, like I mentioned, they could just change the rules. I mean, some people are like, well, this is how KOPW works. Well, it's like, well, the IWGP title used to be something entirely different before 1987. So they could just change the nature of the prize altogether, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, they could just make it it's just the KOPW.
A real title.
Right. And Shingo has been clamoring for there to be a title, a championship, not just a trophy. So they could go that direction, keep the same rules, and just say, hey, it's just, we don't have the year thing. Like, if you're the champion, you're the champion until you actually lose the belt.
I am feeling like with this tournament, though, because there's so many tournament matches and in such a short amount of time, it's going to be nearly impossible. Even if, hypothetically, like, let's say if you and I were putting in the usual amount of effort that we do for this tournament, and then coming on the show and trying to assess it the way we've done in the past, how would either of us ever assess 7 nights with that sort of in-depth coverage? We don't even do that for the G1. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's kind of also, I guess, in some ways working in our favor with the predicament we're in. And, I don't feel like this tournament is one where necessitates the live audience that's viewing at home to pay as close of attention to it, because technically speaking, this is a tournament that has always kind of been on the back burner. I think it's a good way for them to go to smaller towns and make appearances and get those final few dates in and do that portion of live business that they're so prone to do. And a lot of it doesn't play into the greater overall story of New Japan's kayfabe anyways. You know, there will be some story developments, things like that, but it's never anything that's super pertinent, or like, if hypothetically, if you skipped most of the tag league and then just jumped in at the finals, and I'm not telling you to do that, but there's a lot of people that do, or just cherry picked the matches you want to watch. Most people don't miss a beat come January 4th. You know what I mean?
Right. And, you know, obviously World Tag League hasn't happened yet as of this recording, but just based off the first night of Super Junior Tag League, I feel like Super Junior Tag League is going to be a real fun tournament to keep track of and keep up with. I'm sure there's probably going to be more matches to watch maybe on that side of things. So I think that's definitely going to be one where people are going to be wanting to check it out, because there's a lot of really fun teams, a lot of really good teams in this year's tournament.
Well, that's the great thing with the Junior Tag League, is there's so many returning individuals from like this year's Best and Super Juniors that are not part of the regular roster, and we're getting to see them in a freelance capacity continue to build a legacy and make a name in New Japan, and maybe even get signed or do further tours down the road, as well as a few new additions like Chris Bay and Leo Rush. And then we got a little bit of that same flavor going on in the World Tag League. We a few weeks ago when we had Chris Samson here, we kind of discussed that just a bit and talked about the different teams that we're excited about, Aussie Open and the LA Dojo guys, and you know, different things. So there are going to be compelling storylines running through it, and it's not going to be like you're going to hate your life if you watch some of these shows. It's just there's 7 shows in a week in the middle of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out, and I think we're going to get a better idea of where these teams stand going into 2023, what the trajectory of the tag team division as a whole, both tag team divisions as a whole is. And, you know, this is a big Wrestle Kingdom this year, and with FTR not on the tour, whoever wins the World Tag League, like that's going to be a big matchup regardless one way or the other. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, should be good. So I'm going to move on to New Japan Strong. So we had night 3 of the Showdown tour. So the show opened up. We had the return of Pretty Peter Avalon. He defeated Kita. Had a pre-match promo kind of running down the crowd there. And, you know, talking about how he's undefeated on Strong, which he is. So now he's 2-0 on Strong after beating Kita. Really fun opening match there. Then the second match, we had Chris Bay and El Phantasmo. They defeated Blake Christian and Mascara Dorada. Really fun, high-flying match here. Second time we're seeing Blake Christian and Dorada teaming up after they had faced off in that tag match a couple weeks ago with, who was it? Mystico and who else was in that match? Who was Mystico? Oh, Zayn. Mystico and Zayn. So yeah, Blake and Dorada back together again. Really fun tag team, but they could not outwit or maneuver the Bull Club shenanigans. Juice Robinson was on commentary. He threw a water bottle at Blake Christian, who was on the top rope, distracted Blake Christian, and then Chris Bay and ELP able to take advantage and get the win. And then the main event, Homicide defeats Filthy Tom Lawler with a big lariat. So a call back to the Ishii match where Tom lost to a lariat. Once again, it seems like the lariat is Tom's weakness. Lost here to Homicide with a big lariat. Post-match, Homicide grabs the fork, was getting ready to stab him, but then Danny Limelight came in and made the save for Filthy Tom, then cut a promo in the back talking about, both of you guys are my family. I was part of LAX, and I'm part of Team Filthy, but Tom's the one who's actually had my back first for the last 2 years, so if you have a problem, we can take us up in the ring. And so Danny Limelight and Homicide, I know that match was taped at the Detonation Tour this past weekend, so that match will be coming up on Strong in the future.
Yeah, that's interesting. Not the best week for Filthy Tom Lawler. Two major losses.
Dude, last couple of months, I feel like he's been eating a lot of L's all over the place. Losing to Ishii, losing here to Homicide, loss in the mixed tag, historic crossover.
I am wondering if maybe this is some sort of buildup with him losing to the same move back to back for him to potentially develop some sort of countermeasure to that maneuver that he's going to bust out and kind of progress his character work over in New Japan Strong. I mean, that's just kind of what it's saying to me anyways.
Yeah. So yeah,
it is surprising though. I did not expect for him to lose to Homicide, truthfully.
Neither did I. So yeah, that was really surprising finish there. So it looks like Homicide will be continuing the feud with Team Filthy, face Dan Limelight on the next tour, and we'll see where Filthy Tom goes from here. Then next week's show, we will have Aussie Open. We'll be taking on Jacob Austin Young and a partner. Then Juice Robinson will be taking on Jake Something. And then we'll have the big champion versus champion main event. The strong openweight champion Fred Rosser will take on the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Switchblade Jay White. And
well, I'm glad Jay White's out there doing something to build this major Wrestle Kingdom match. You know what I mean? I'm glad he's not resting on his laurels. He's getting out there, staying active, on the road, putting in the activity, putting in the work, a real champion,
Yeah.
And he deserves to go on last at Wrestle Kingdom over Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay.
Oh man, dude, and Fred Rosser, man, he cut another wacky promo on this episode of Strong where they were hyping up this champion versus champion match, and he was like, I usually don't tell people, or I usually tell people they need to get ready when they're wrestling me, but you're the champion, so I don't have to tell you that. But just in case, I'm gonna tell you that. I was like, what?
I told bro, sometimes I'll be talking to Rich and I'll do my freaking Fred Rosser impersonation, and I'll mess up the promo, and he thinks I'm messing up the promo, and I'm like, no, I'm purposely messing it up because he messes it up, and that's part of the impersonation.
The thing is, I don't know if he the one promo we made fun of a couple weeks ago, he messed up, but this one, I think he was thought he was hitting on all cylinders and thought it was great. He was like, I'm gonna drop this line. I'm just like, no.
you're gonna leave with 2 boots on. The 2 boots on your feet. And the one I'm going to stick up your ass.
I'm laying out an open challenge. Whoa, what are you doing out here?
Yeah.
The disrespect.
I challenge any man in the back to come out here and step in Fred Rosser's ring. How dare you step in Fred Rosser's ring? This is my time.
Disrespect. How dare you? Why are you out here?
What are you doing out here? The other thing, too, is when he's like, I am the people's champion, bro. You can't be the people unless you're of the caliber of the... I know it's 2022, and he did that shtick in 2001 or whatever, 2000, 1999. I know it's been over 20 years, right? But unless you're at the caliber of performer and of star status as The Rock, you can't be the people's champ, because when you call yourself the people's champ, all that does is make people think of The Rock, and then they look at you, and then they make the comparison, and it's one guy was on Monday Night Raw in the middle of the Attitude Era, and the other guy's on New Japan Strong. And as much as I like Fred Rosser, I really do. It's my guy, you need a different nickname. I thought the Suntan Superman was a really good one.
Right?
No days off, block the hate. Those are all really good catchphrases.
Those are cool. Another thing is
the people's champion.
Right. It's not like he is positioned as the number one babyface, but I don't think he's the most over person on that show. So it is what it is. But
at the same time, his promos are a guilty pleasure for me. I kind of like them.
Yeah, I'm like, what's he gonna say now? What's he gonna say
next? When he comes out, I start rubbing my hands together. I'm like, oh boy, what's this man gonna say next time? I can't wait.
Oh man. So a few news items here. Tomohiro Ishii will be challenging the Ocho, Chris Jericho, for the ROH World Title this Wednesday on Dynamite. So that should be a fun matchup there.
They need to count his CMLL World Title. Okay,
so
9 times world champion.
So you're saying he should be the Nueve?
Oh, did I say Siete? See, like I'm Mexican, but like I don't speak Spanish. So is it Nueve?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the Nueve, bro. Also, he always claims that he was never a world champion as a babyface, but I'm pretty sure like he was babyface in CMLL as world champion.
Corazon de Leon.
Yeah. Oh, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I never watched that stuff. I've tried to find some CMLL footage from him. There's not a lot, but maybe he doesn't count it because it wasn't a world heavyweight championship, quote unquote. But like the world heavyweight champion in Mexico is not the world champion. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
The lower weight class titles are a bigger deal most often. So it's like he's been a world champion. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, Kazuchika Okada, he has a voiceover cameo in the Japanese dub of Black Adam, and when asked if he'd like to wrestle The Rock, he replied, "Well, as a fellow pro wrestler, I'd like to have a match with him." So, Rock, Tokyo.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Rock, Okada, Tokyo Dome, Wrestle.
I would love that. Maybe, I don't know. I guess I did just kind of skip over the fact that Jericho and Ishii are wrestling each other. It was funny when he called Ishii the young boy from Wrestling and Romance.
Yeah.
Like, bro, my guy, you're talking about 1994.
Shibata has an interview up on NJPW1972.com. It's a 2-parter. It's called Like Wrestler Like Son. So he spent a lot of time talking about Ren Narita and some of the other LA Dojo Young Lions. A really cool interview, so go ahead and check that out.
That was a great interview.
Yeah. And last news item here, Kenta will be going to Combat Zone Wrestling on December 18th for their Arrival show.
I hope he wrestles my close personal friend, the Demented Butterfly, Fabu. you know, I mean, Fabs wrestles for CZW.
You told me this weekend that Fabu's been doing.
I think he like does main events. I think he's one of the. I don't watch CZW, but I think he's one of like the current top guys in CZW. Like, how crazy would that be if? I mean, who knows?
That could be an excursion match contender,
bro. That would be incredible to like review because for those of you that don't know, Fabu is trained by Matt Seidel, so he is a stablemate of mine in the Sai Dojo. So like he was at my birthday party this year.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. Like if we like were able to review one of his matches for this show, facing off against Puroresu legend Kenta.
Yeah, that'd be really dope.
I'm gonna hit him up and be like, "Yo, you gotta politic your way into this match somehow."
All right, let's move into some questions here, and then a recommended match of the week. So first set of questions here from the Dark Soldier. Says, going back to the U.S. show from a couple weeks ago, Suzuki called Clark Connors a young boy but shook his hand. Compared to Killer Cross, who Suzuki did not respect, does that mean be like Clark and not Cross?
I mean, we did talk about that on the show. I can't remember too many times ever in the history of New Japan where Minoru Suzuki paid any sort of respect to his opponent, especially one that was so much lower on the totem pole than him. So I do think that was significant.
Yeah, definitely a big deal there for Clark Connors. It says Orange has proven himself to guys like Shibata and Ospreay. What other fun match should Orange have against a NJPW talent? Also, would you consider Orange one of Chaos's top talent? He is surely better than Yo.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, I think Yo could be fixed, just like I think Sho could be fixed. But that's got to be one of the great tragedies of modern New Japan is like that they've fumbled Sho and Yo at this juncture.
Right, dude, and they're right where they've been the whole time. They're not teaming, but they're both back in the junior tag league, not in a big,
it's not good,
not featured in a big match in the Tokyo Dome. Like, these guys should have been like facing off for the junior title this year after a heated rivalry of Sho turning on Yo, but sad.
I think ultimately I'm not that big of a fan of like Orange Cassidy. I find him entertaining, and I think he works on like an AEW show. But like me personally, I don't really want to see him in New Japan, and I feel like if he came to New Japan, I would want him to be slotted pretty low on the totem pole, similar to other comedy acts like Colt Cabana or like Toriano. Like for me personally, I couldn't really take him seriously in New Japan, but I wouldn't mind seeing him wrestle. Like if they, we were supposed to get that Minoru Suzuki match WrestleMania weekend. That never happened. That might be fun for like a US Indie AEW, type of match, but I don't want to see him come over as All Atlantic champion. I'm not usually like that Bahambung guy that just like, shits on things, but I just think it's stylistically, it's just it would be a weird pill for me to swallow to see Orange Cassidy performing in New Japan Pro Wrestling,
Yeah, I mean, his gimmick would be kind of a weird presentation in New Japan, but I mean, the guy can go in ring. We saw what he did with Ospreay at Forbidden Door, and anytime he has a big singles match, guys like Pac, like he always shows out, and it's always a great match. So, I mean, I think he would end up being, pretty good in like a Super Juniors. Him versus Romeo would be a fun matchup. I feel like those guys would work really hard.
They would never let him do a junior tour because they don't see him as a junior,
right?
Over in AEW.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they would slot him against heavyweights.
Well, Utah's not really a junior in AEW, and he did a junior tour.
Yeah, but he is young enough to get away and low enough on the totem pole to get away with doing a junior tour,
Yeah.
But like, for instance, like I just think there's certain guys that once they get to a certain star level, they probably wouldn't let them do a junior tour unless they're truly like for, maybe Darby Allin is one of the like true quote unquote stars that could get away with doing a junior tour if they wanted.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, like Jungle Boy, I don't think they would ever let him do a junior tour because they'd want him to be perceived as a heavyweight wrestler.
Right, especially at this point where they're doing the kind of solo push with him.
Exactly. Or like if the Bucks were to wrestle here, they would want them to wrestle for the top tag team title, not the junior title, even though they are juniors.
Well, I mean, they elevated to heavyweight before they left.
I know they did, but they're not really heavyweights. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And last thing here from Dark Soldier says, to correct Young Boy from last week, I think this was actually from a few weeks ago, says you called Venom a Batman villain, when in reality, I'm pretty sure you were thinking of Bane, the man who truly broke the bat. And Venom is a Spider-Man villain. Hell, not even a Spider-Man villain anymore. He's his own man now. God, Young Boy, it's almost as if you don't read comics.
Yeah, I make a lot of mistakes on the air. And you know what? I don't read comics. I did when I was like 12. I haven't read a comic in like a decade, honestly. And the main reason why I don't read comics, I like comics, but I don't read them because the last time I was trying to read them, you had to be buying almost every single issue of every single story that was interwoven between the shared universe in these that and they were costly. It was very, very expensive. That it was like, damn, if I want to know what's going on in this comic, I have to go buy this comic and then I have to go buy this. And you can't just be reading one title because most of them are not self-contained. They're all and it's not like a Stephen King sort of thing where it's like there's a little bread like crumb or like a little Easter egg. They're like literally the next part of the story is taking place in Thor's world, and then you jump back to Spider-Man. It's kind of crazy, Yeah, and it's a money grab.
Well, it's just like the MCU now. It's like it's hard for you to just jump into any movie. Like you have to have watched all the movies to just know kind of what's going on now in the universe. So you have to like pay and watch everything.
It's becoming more so like that, but there are still some movies you can get away with watching on its own merit. And even though there's allusions to other things, you might not be as clued in as other people, but you can enjoy it on its own. I'm talking about like the story concludes and then the next part of the story literally takes place in another comic book and they all release at the same time. You have to buy them all,
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I don't have the money or the time for this. I'd rather watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. But he is correct. It was Bane that broke Batman's back in 1993, and then Bruce Wayne disappeared, and then Azrael came in, and he was the new Batman, and everyone thought he sucked except for me because I was a little kid and I thought he was the coolest thing that ever fucking happened. And then Azrael started killing people, and that was dope to me. I loved that Azrael was killing people. I was like, he's like Batman, but he murders people. It's great. And then Batman came back and kicked him out.
So maybe
did you ever see that?
I did not. I did not know that.
Yeah, Azrael was the new Batman for a little spell. This is the same time when they decided to kill Superman. Doomsday, I believe, killed Superman, and they did like a year-long saga where he was like dead, and then they had these clones. And yeah, it's a crazy story. Yeah, I used to read a lot of comics. I don't anymore.
A lot of lore.
Too much lore. There's, too much.
Next set of questions here from Les Commission 7252. Who do you guys think fans that are new to wrestling will choose to look up to the most? Hiroshi Tanahashi or John Cena?
I don't know. Fans that are, that's a pretty open-ended question because if you think about it, fans that are new to wrestling, it depends on who are they going to get exposed to. I don't know.
Right. I guess what are they like? What are they watching? 'Cause if they're a new fan in the U.S., I would say obviously John Cena is probably more likely to be exposed to.
See him.
Exactly at this point, yeah.
Yeah, and I think most Western fans, regardless of whether they like wrestling or not, know who John Cena is. He's a pretty big crossover guy, especially with the movies and different and just the cultural zeitgeist with the memes. You can't see me, So I think most people kind of in the West definitely know John Cena to a much greater degree.
Yeah. He also asked, I'm going for Naito and Sonata to win World Tag League this year, but if they do win, will that upset many fans that Aussie Open won't be getting the rematch against FTR? Having Naito in the league is probably a back way of having Naito at the Tokyo Dome, or should they go the three-way route wherein both teams have a win against one another during the league, and in the finals, that way both teams have a claim to be in the tag title match at Wrestle Kingdom?
I don't know that this is going to happen, so don't say Keepin It Strong Style or Josh Smith is reporting this, but I just have the strange feeling that we're going to get Keiji Muto's final match in New Japan in the Tokyo Dome, and it's going to be him and Tanahashi against Naito and Sonata.
That could work. Yeah, Muto's last New Japan Tokyo Dome match, and you build that way. I have a hard time seeing Naito and Sonata being stuck in a tag team title match. So I feel like there will be something that happens on this tour that will build to either a Naito's singles match against somebody or the situation you propose where you get Great Muta involved and there's some kind of special tag match.
Or something like that. There could be other options, but I have the feeling, considering the history that all three of those men have with Muto, that might be the match they do.
Yeah. And just kind of based off of what I'm seeing so far, it seems like, Aussie Open is getting a strong push right now. And I think that the money match there is Aussie Open FTR.
Also, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to do any other team against FTR on their own after the promos and the backstage segments that they did at the end of the last, major show. That the story would just be weird at that point.
Yeah. Let's see. What match would you guys had rather see happen? Early 90s Ric Flair versus early 2010s Hiroshi Tanahashi, or Surfboard Sting versus Kazuchika Okada?
Both of those matches sound really cool, but Surfer Sting against Okada really only works if Okada is in his early cocky heel persona. If he's a babyface and it's babyface, I don't know. I don't think that works for me. But Ric Flair versus Tanahashi is really great. But if I was going to go with a Ric Flair, I would not go with early 90s Ric Flair. I'd probably go with like mid to late 80s Ric Flair personally.
Yeah, I think, a Flair Tanahashi match, I think, to me, would end up being the better match between a Surfer Sting and Okada matchup. Just even in that point of Sting's career, Sting was awesome, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like he wasn't always the crispest, like, in-ring guy. And
no, He still isn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. He's Sting. But the funny thing is Sting's not a surfer.
What do you mean?
Everyone calls him Surfer Sting. There's never been one moment in his entire career where this dude has surfed or had a surfboard or portrayed himself as a surfer on any level. I don't know why people call him Surfer Sting.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where that started. Maybe based off the colors, maybe.
Yeah, that is what it is. Yeah. And because there's a lot of times where he was at the beach and they call him Surfer Sting, but Sting didn't surf.
And he was a dude with attitude, so dudes, surfer stuff.
I guess, but he wasn't a surfer. I think there is a toy. I found a toy one time that had Sting with the surfboard. That's about it.
Next set of questions here from Hawaiian Punch BV. It says, how excited are you for Lucha Yota in CMLL?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I don't think we've talked about that too much on the show, but we did mention that he's finally gone to CMLL. Well, the videos are starting to come out and pretty cool.
This man flipping.
There was one. I saw one major botch he had, which was also to kind of be expected because it's a whole new experience learning to work, the lucha style. They work from an entirely different side, different timing, different style wrestling. The rings are different. Everything about it's totally opposite. So there's definitely gonna be a learning curve there, but I'm loving the idea that we have a big brawling bruiser type character a la Kenta Kobashi or Takayama, who also does lucha libre. That's so dope.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, I'm glad he's finally got to live his dream, go to Mexico. Yeah, it's gonna be so great for him. Other question here: have you checked out Hiromu's zipper challenge?
I saw that thing. It looked like he was jacking off. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, well, the funny thing was I might have been you or somebody sent a clip where it was only his chest up, and I was like, "What is?"
It wasn't me.
I was like, "What is he doing?" But then I went on Twitter later on in the day and saw that he was doing this zipper challenge thing. I was like, "Okay, that makes so much more sense now."
Yeah.
Next set of questions here from Barry Walsh. Says, Suzuki seemingly an indie darling and getting people excited to see him everywhere he tours overseas. Do you think making him strong champion would gain the brand more exposure, and would having a Japanese champion feel more authentic New Japan in a way to the casual fan?
I don't think that's a bad suggestion. If there was a guy from Japan to make the strong champion to add some credibility to that lineage, it would probably be either him or Ishii, just because of how often they work stateside. I mean, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more having him as a champion is going to draw for their shows. I mean, they run pretty small buildings, but it would definitely be a great addition, a great attraction to those shows, and add to that strong lineage to have a legend like Suzuki holding that title. He also asks, would love to hear your take on a topic I've had my mind on for some time. Do you think there's enough selling in New Japan? I don't mean to sound like I'm down on the product, as I'm not at all, but this has been a gripe of mine some time now. Wrestler A beats Wrestler B up for 5 minutes straight. Then Wrestler B lands one move and is completely fresh or fires up and shows no signs of damage from the previous flurry. I understand the firing up, and Okada and Ospreay and some others do sell well, but a lot of guys don't see him at all. And sometimes, for me personally, it lowers the atmosphere for me on some matches. Is this just me, or what do you fine fellows think of selling in Shinihon in general?
I mean, there's a lot of different perspectives when it comes to this subject, and you got to also consider there's a lot of different styles of wrestling, and in some styles, historically, selling has been especially prolonged selling, like limb selling or injury type selling for long periods of the match. That's been something that's been beloved and praised by certain segments of fans for good reason. Sometimes people hate it, but there's other styles of wrestling, like in lucha libre or even, for instance, shoot style wrestling, where it's just not as important or relevant. And, generally speaking, not to say that New Japan is devoid historically of selling, but the idea behind it being strong style, the fact that it was more realistic, part of it was the fighting spirit is always been a big part of the culture and the lore. meaning that our wrestlers are able to persevere through more punishment and still perform and still show face and still overcome adversity. And does that mean you stop selling? No, not necessarily, but that kind of feeds into that. And there's also the fact that a lot of New Japan's roots come from realistic fighting. And if you think about real fights, it's not very often that you see people selling injuries for prolonged periods in a dramatic fashion. They actually almost try to, in a real fight, like, yeah, they try to no sell it or hide it and protect themselves from taking more damage by not giving away the fact that it is injured, whatever it may be.
Yeah, when I did amateur wrestling in high school and I heard something, I didn't like put a bunch of tape around my hurt body part like in wrestling to the sell and have this dramatic story in the match. So yeah, in a real combat situation, yeah, you don't want your opponent to know you're hurt, and you want to try and fight through the pain as much as possible.
I really just think it depends on the performer and the story and the layout that they're going for. Do I think that they can do a better job selling in some cases? Absolutely. But, the reality is the best wrestlers in Japan typically are the best sellers. And that's not really a coincidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, and we've talked about like Ishii. Ishii does an incredible job.
That's the name I was just about to say. You took it out of my mouth.
After he fires up, like he goes and he'll fire up and then he'll sell his neck. He'll sell whatever got hurt. And I feel like a lot of guys do that. Like they will fire up, but then they will end up selling. They'll be the double down, or they'll do they'll grab a body part and they'll sell after they've kind of, gritted their teeth and fired up.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the best performers in this company over the past, like, let's say 4 or 5 years, I mean, your Tanahashis, your Okadas, your Will Ospreys, your Zack Sabre Jr.'s, your Ishii's, Kota Ibushi, people like that, they all are fantastic sellers. And I mean, it just is what it is, I mean, if you're someone that harps on it and that's what you look for in wrestling, then maybe there is an aspect of New Japan that won't appeal to you. And in other respects, there's probably some matches that you absolutely like. For instance, like I think Jay White's an incredible seller as well, and I think he's a guy that probably appeals to people that really love that stuff. I've seen entire matches where Will Ospreay. Well, there's a period where people were complaining that he was overselling most things, both vocally and visually. But I've seen him work entire matches around an injured body part and still get off all his offense. So yeah, it's just one of those things. And for me, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, there are things like me. I love Macho Man Randy Savage when he sells a knee injury and he's climbing the ropes on one leg because he can't put weight on the other knee. I love shit like that. But I've also watched a lot of lucha. I've watched a lot of Joshi, and I've watched a lot of, shoot style wrestling where that stuff's just not as important. And I think it just really depends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that sometimes we box ourselves and the performers in too much by expecting especially with how amalgamated New Japan is when it comes to being a melting pot of various different styles worldwide and truly being an international company. They take influence from so many different places. I think when we just try to limit what we're viewing to like what was being done in the territories in the 80s or in WWF in the early 90s, we kind of we try to box them in a little bit too much, and I don't think that's a good thing necessarily.
Yeah. So his next question is, when thinking about this, I wanted to hear your take on if Narita does win the tournament and beats ZSJ. It's not an Ishii along the way. Does he not seem too strong for the TV title? Does beating two borderline main eventers not make you almost a world or U.S. title contender? Would him losing in the final, then wrecking the winner after the match, not be a better fit for his character?
I mean, I don't think it's too strong. I think that in some regards, we have coddled too many of the returning individuals that have come back from excursion by slow tracking them to a potential major spot on the roster. And I mean, I do understand that the guys that he's gone through have been very impressive, and especially Western audiences love many of the people that he would have hypothetically beaten, like a Zack Sabre Jr. and a Sonata and an Ishii. But at the same time, let's be very clear, they're contenders. They're not champions. I mean, truth be told, Zack's never even won a title in this company, and Sonata only just won a title this year, and it was not to the greatest results. Could you argue hypothetically that puts him as a potential title contender for the world title? Yeah. Is that a bad thing? No. Why would that be a bad thing? We're in the star making business, baby. We need to be making some stars. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think if he loses, it hurts. Not necessarily. I think that's a compelling story too, but I can't see the downside of him losing or the downside of him beating everybody and coming out like a fucking superstar killer. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, we need to make new stars, and to get this TV title over, like, it's a great thing to have somebody who's a star. Like, you want somebody who feels and comes up as a star to get this TV title over, so it doesn't turn into just another title or some kind of low card thing. You want to draw that title. You want to be in main events of shows. You want that TV title to be a big deal. So what better way than, he beats all these top guys and then wins a tournament overall.
And inevitably, the 15-minute time limit is going to be a major storytelling device when it comes to something like this. Okay, you went in there and you won the tournament in 15-minute matches. Okay, that doesn't mean just because you beat a top contender, which is a great accomplishment, in a even if you did it in a convincing fashion, that doesn't mean you're going to beat Kazuchika Okada or Jay White in a 60-minute time limit match. It's a totally different. It's a different animal altogether. It's like comparing a 30-minute G1 style matchup to a 60-minute world title match. We've seen so many times where someone can get it done in the G1 when it's a 30-minute time limit, and the guy they're facing has gone through hell, and just the environment and the framework is totally different. That's going to apply to someone that's a TV champion that makes their name. They're going to have to jump up a whole new level to start having these 60-minute main event New Japan style matches. And inevitably, we're going to see someone, whether it's him or whoever, that makes their name in the TV title division and then tries to make that jump. And then it's like, oh, this is not, the same thing. And you're going to see those guys that are front runners that are deadly for the first 15 minutes of a title match and then get dragged out into the deep water. And it's like, oh, I wasn't ready for this. That's going to be awesome when that happens.
Right.
I bet it's Narita. I bet Narita will be the guy that wins this belt. And then when he tries to jump to the heavyweight division, he's not ready for his first title match.
Right. Yeah. Like you mentioned, he'll be a killer in the first 15 minutes. And then, after that 15-minute call, he's going to be a little bit gassed. He's not going to be as crisp.
Bro, this title sounds so much cooler when you put it into that context of like how it's going to change the dichotomy of how they perform in other settings and situations. I love it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Last set of questions here from Viking Pain says, was it a mistake for Wrestle Kingdom 17 to be a one-night show instead of a two-night show like in the previous years? With already 6 matches on the card and more to come, plus the pre-show, we could be looking at a 6-hour plus show.
I'm okay with it, but I'll tell you this. All killer, no filler. That's this year's Wrestle Kingdom, baby. Hey, if your favorite doesn't get on, fuck them. I don't care. I want the best show possible. And if a great talent like a Tomohiro Ishii doesn't make it on the show, so be it.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I miss the days of having these super cards where it was, you only had so many spots and if certain guys couldn't make it, oh well. Like, I miss these one-day Wrestle Kingdoms. We don't have to worry about the double gold dash and all this convoluted stuff and doing all this extra fluff just because you have 2 nights. Like, you're getting one night, and Wrestle Kingdom matches or shows are paced great. And we were talking about this weekend watching, Full Gear. Like, Wrestle Kingdom matches, they'll start off with that Rainbow, those pre-show matches. Then you'll have
builds.
You have your hot junior opener, and then it keeps building, until you get to that last stretch of matches, and they're all incredible. There is no death spot match on Wrestle Kingdom shows. Those last 4 matches are all in that 4.5 to 5-star range. It's incredible. And yeah, it is a 6-hour day, but it's great. You're watching one of the best shows of the year, especially with this card. You having Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, and FTR is going to be on the card. You have the IWGP Women's title, TV title, like all these big matchups. Like, this is going to be an awesome show.
Listen, if some of your favorites, whether it's a Hiroshi Tanahashi or a Sonata or an Ishii or a Shingo or an ELP, doesn't make it on the show, do better next year. Get to a higher spot on the card.
Get over.
Get over. Okay? And if you're not over it, get over it, because this is New Japan Pro Wrestling. We got to wrap it up because we're coming up to the 9 o'clock hour, but let's knock out these last 2 questions.
Yep, so then he says, who is the finesser of the year? Keiji Muto, Carl Anderson, or Jeff Jarrett?
Well, that's going to be a question for you guys to answer when it comes to One Nation Radio Awards. It's a different award show and different podcast altogether, but yeah. I don't know. I give my vote to Jeff Jarrett, this guy.
Well, their award is named after Jeff Jarrett, and usually
I don't think he can win the award.
Right, but I think they might try to make a case this year, though. But, I mean, just going
Muto,
off...
it might be Muto.
Yeah, if Jarrett can't win, then probably Muto, but I don't know. I feel like Jarrett's earned it. Like... His last question, Tanahashi, Naito, and Shingo are big main eventers that don't have current build Wrestle Kingdom 17. What do you think all 3 men are going to be doing at the biggest show of the year?
I think Tanahashi and Naito will be working some sort of match with Keiji Muto. That's just my personal inclination. I think Shingo will be doing something revolving around the KOPW title. Don't be surprised if we get a definitive final match between him and ELP this year.
Yeah, I mean, Shingo, I don't know if they're going to bring back...
Or I'm sorry, I meant Taichi. Disregard.
I don't know if they're going to bring back the never open weight 6-man gauntlet, but I could see some kind of, Shingo, Sonata, and Bushi, some kind of 6-man.
I'm okay with them doing something like that too. That's fine.
Yeah. All right. Last thing here real quick, recommended match of the week. So last week I recommended for you to watch Akira Hokuto and Bull Nakano from Collision in Korea from 1995. What do you think?
Jeremy, this match was it was just something that was kind of unique because there's not a lot of women's matches that have ever made tape in New Japan. But, this was taking place during one of those days of Collision in Korea. And there's a lot of did you watch this match?
Yeah.
There's a lot of crowd response that I'm 100% convinced is not authentic in any way. I think it was almost all exclusively added in post. It just sounds very bottled sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounded really weird.
So there's that aspect to it. And then the match structure, they only gave them 8 minutes. So as talented as these girls are, they went out there, they had what I think was an admirable performance, but with very little crowd response and a strange atmosphere in a limited amount of time. The match was pretty much a sprint. Bull Nakano comes in, clotheslines Hokuto right out the gate, works a prolonged heat segment. It's not really doing much for the crowd. And then they start going into the big dives during the comeback. Both girls are jumping off shit. That part's cool. They start dropping each other on their heads. And then pretty soon it's over, I think they went out there and they tried to get in some of their best stuff in a very short amount of time. And it was fine for what it was. But considering the level of legend that these two women are at this point in time in their careers and the stage, this is almost kind of more of just an oddity and a unique little piece of business more so than a great match or anything like that. I'd probably go, I don't know, 2 3/4, maybe 3 stars if I'm being generous,
Yeah.
And maybe with the right crowd and the right setting, it might have been different.
Yeah, I think definitely it's more recommended. I think just from a spectacle kind of standpoint, a history standpoint. But yeah, definitely these ladies definitely have much better matches in their catalog. Then you recommended for me to watch Nakajima and Kano versus Kojima and Segura from Pro Wrestling Noah's Pro Wrestling Love Forever 3 show for the GHC tag team titles. Really good, hard-hitting matchup here. Seeing kind of some of the story of, of Kano and Nakajima not being happy that Kojima's in Noah and winning titles and stuff like that. So these guys trying to get the tag team belts off of him and Segura. And I feel like majority of the match towards the beginning, there was a lot of heat on Segura and him kind of getting beat down, which then led into Kojima making a hot tag and him kind of running a while. But then Kano and Nakajima were kind of able to cut him off and get the heat on Kojima. Once again, leading to a hot tag for Segura, him kind of coming in, cleaning house, doing a lot of power moves, and then kind of breaking out at the end. A lot of big kicks and strikes from all four men towards the end. Kojima gets in as a legal man again and ends up hitting 3 big Western lariats on Nakajima to win the match and retain the titles of him and Segura. So yeah, really fun matchup here. The crowd loved Kojima. This was a cheering crowd. The Bakayaro chant was big when he was doing the machine gun chop. So seems like Noah fans are really appreciating what Kojima's doing over there. And so yeah, a really fun matchup. I'd go like 4 stars on it.
Okay, well that's a great rating, and I heard really good things about that match. So good looking out. Sounds like it's not gonna probably make the cutoff for this year's excursion match of the year contender.
Yeah, probably not.
Gotcha. Well, let's wrap it up for this week's recommended match of the week. I figured I'd give you something kind of different, a little bit unique. We're going to go to the 2005 G1 Climax Finals as Masahiro Chono takes on Kazuyuki Fujita.
Nice. Then for the excursion match of the week, we'll go with this Wednesday's AEW Dynamite as Tomohiro Ishii will challenge Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Title.
What a cop-out.
Making it easy. We're going to watch Dynamite anyway, so.
Actually, I'm going to be out. You know what, though? I was going to go see Glass Onion, but it looks like I'm going out. And then I'll be flying out the next morning early. So maybe while I'm out, I can, finagle my way into getting them to turn on a little bit of TBS action. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's going to wrap the show up for us this week. Next week, we'll be back to give you an update on the World Tag League and Super Junior Tag League. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation. Visit socialsuplex.com and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. Follow the network at Social Suplex on Facebook, facebook.com/Social Suplex, Instagram at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. The Grave Consequences, hosted by Caleb and Maserati. All Things Elite, hosted by Floyd and Austin. The AEW Match Guide podcast, hosted by Sir Sam. And the Great Match Generator, hosted by Danny Kugler. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches,
urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.
Shop Macy's Black Friday specials and find epic deals on gifts they'll love now while supplies last. Like 40% off head-to-toe Levi's for men, women, and kids. 70% off gold earrings, bracelets, and bangles. And the Ninja Professional Blender, just $79.95. Plus, get free curbside pickup or pickup in store today at Macy's. Details at Macys.com/pickup. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.